Introduction. Xiaotian, on the New Year's Eve of the Chinese New Year, sleeps under a tree wrapped in a military coat. The king of the daughter country who passed by saw him and felt pity, so he took him home. Once picked up by the king of the kingdom of daughters. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Snowflakes one by one in the sky, gusts of cold wind piercing into my heart, your warm and beautiful smile melting all sorrows, illuminating my heart. February 6, 1978 Monday. In the year of the snake in Dingxi, on the 29th day of the 12th lunar month, also known as the 30th day of the Lunar New Year. A day of bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new. The north wind whistles and snowflakes drift and scatter. The goose feathers have been snowing heavily for 3 days, accumulating 3 inches thick. Today, the wind and snow suddenly stopped, and only scattered snowflakes drifted down. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the plot requirements, many details are not carefully considered. We apologize for any inconvenience caused. Although the weather is cold, every household is lively and bustling. Hanging door gods, posting couplets, offering incense, setting off firecrackers, a scene of joy and laughter spread from every household. Reflecting the entire Beijing, it is shrouded in the atmosphere of the Spring Festival, filled with a festive atmosphere. Beijing Zhongmin Suburban Hutong. Zhu Jian was wearing a green military coat, deep blue cotton pants, cotton boots, a big red scarf tied around her neck, 2 thick braids tied, and a cotton hat. Walking alone on the way home. Zhu Jian has been fond of art since childhood and has studied dance gymnastics. In 1970, he was admitted to the Communication Corps and worked as a dancer. For 75 years, studied and worked at the Drug and Biological Products Testing Institute of the Ministry of Health. In 1976, worked at the Institute of Health at the Academy of Medical Sciences, and graduated from the Academy of Medical Sciences 3 years later. From then on, I began to work and live systematically. At this point, there were no more pedestrians on the road, and everyone was reuniting at their own homes to have New Year's dinner. The white snow had already penetrated his ankle, and Zhu Yan could only walk slowly, taking deep and shallow steps. From time to time, when my feet slip, a low cry can be heard. If it weren't for the company's business today, Zhu Jian wouldn't have been willing to travel back and forth during this cold winter, festive day, and bumpy road. Just cross the alley street and come to the corner. Zhu Ting, who was walking carefully with his head down, saw a person lying under a large locust tree by the roadside in the afterglow. Zhu Ting was slightly surprised. Although everyone is having a difficult time now, there is not a place to go. Good or bad should also have a shelter in this cold time. Upon closer inspection, the person was wrapped in a military coat, revealing less than their face. It's like falling asleep. Zhu Ting couldn't bear it anymore, so he slowly moved over and heard a faint moan as he approached. I really fell asleep. This person's heart is really big, not afraid of freezing. After thinking for a moment, Zhu Ting extended his white and tender jade hand and gently patted it. Surprisingly, there was no response and I slept soundly. Zhu Yan patted hard and spoke slightly louder, don't sleep, wake up quickly. I called out a few times, but finally woke up the sleeping person. I saw the person looking up at Zhu Jian in a daze. Without speaking, I had to lower my head and sleep again. Zhu Jian finally realized that he was a teenager. Seeing the young man sleeping again, I felt a little annoyed. What if it freezes? What if it freezes to death? With a hint of anger, Zhu Yan rebuked, "You're not going back either. What should we do if it freezes to death on such a cold day? Don't your family worry." After finishing speaking, he fiercely patted the boy. The young man finally woke up with a bang and looked up at Zhu Yan. Upon closer inspection, I only felt that I had seen it somewhere before. It was extremely beautiful and I really wanted to kiss it. The young man whispered, "There's no one at home, I'm the only one." Upon hearing this, Zhu Ting's heart began to ache. He softened his tone and said, "How do you live and have you ever eaten?" The young man looked at Zhu Yan's concerned gaze and said, "Not yet, I'll go find something to eat later." The more you listen, the more sour your heart becomes. Why are you still looking for food like a cat or a dog? Let's go back with me first, I'm not hungry for you. The young man was slightly surprised upon hearing this. This is meeting a beautiful and kind-hearted big sister. Looking carefully at Zhu Yan's delicate face with picturesque eyebrows and eyes, I couldn't help but nod my head and respond with, "Good." As soon as Zhu Yan was happy, he picked up the young man and wanted to leave. Unexpectedly, one of them couldn't stand steadily and lay directly on the young man's body, with his lips accidentally imprinted on his face. The young man was taken aback and couldn't help but look at the other person. "I only feel smooth and delicate, soft and comfortable." "Bad guy, don't help me get up yet." Zhu Yan quickly tilted his head and said with a hint of embarrassment. The young man quickly helped himself up and stood awkwardly there. "It's hard to say that I followed them back, because I'm afraid they will turn back and refuse." Zhu Yan seemed to understand, smiled, and said seductively, "Let's go, I'm afraid I don't want you." As he spoke, he picked up the boy's hand and slowly walked forward. Step by step. As he walked, he said, "You can just be my younger brother in the future. I happen to have only one daughter in my family, so I can consider myself a perfect child." The young man listened, should be. It turned out that this young man was reincarnated from a later life, but because his previous life was also a slippery snowy road, he fell off and chewed on feces. He was choked to death and was reborn onto the young man Xiaotian. However, Xiaotian's background is against heaven. But at this moment, Xiaotian also has no intention of using his power to dominate others. Ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about how to be reborn, and don't worry about whether you need a system. Xiaotian punches the southern fist and kicks the northern leg. Whatever you need, you will know. Zhu Yan asked again, "What is your name and how old are you?" The young man replied, "Xiaotian, he is 13 years old." Zhu Ting smiled and said, "It's pretty good. My name is Zhu Ting. If you don't follow me in the future, call me Zhu Xiaotian." Xiaotian looked at Zhu Jian and thought to himself, "At this time, the king of the daughter kingdom is really tender, smooth, and delicious." He asked, "Then you won't be me?" Zhu Ting looked at Xiaotian and smiled sweetly, "When you... What's wrong, isn't it okay? You're just so big, just like you." Xiaotian chuckled and said, "Okay, then you can't go back on your word." Zhu Zibai glanced at him and said, "What's the point of reneging? Come on, be good, call out and listen." Ah, how well behaved. I didn't expect to have such a big. I can't run anymore, please carry me on your back. I can't imagine not carrying you on my back. I can't even walk smoothly. Come on, hold on, let's walk slowly. As they spoke, the two slowly walked away, teasing each other, leaving behind a series of messy footprints. The happy smile on her face now, elegant and dignified Zhu Qian. I never would have thought that this person she brought home would. If you can move, you need Yushue to be soft and pretty. I will also slap and beat myself, making myself quite delicate and tender, making myself. Zhu Yan and Xiaotian glided and drifted, laughing and laughing. In less than half an hour, they finally returned to the alley courtyard. The door gods and couplets have been pasted on both sides of the gate. The courtyard also has various gatekeepers and pairs. This is a typical small homestead. 3 main rooms. A central hall and 2 bedrooms on both sides. Add 2 side rooms. The east kitchen and the west washroom form an independent courtyard. "Mom," Zhu softly shouted as soon as she entered the door. I saw 2 people coming out of the main room, who were over 50 years old and elegant. These 2 people are Zhu Yan's parents, both of whom are intellectuals. My father is a professor at North China University of Technology, and my mother works as a doctor at the Research Institute of the Ministry of Health. Growing up in such a family, Zhu Qian was influenced by knowledge from a young age. Zhu Yan has loved singing and dancing since childhood, and has also learned to play the piano. Zhu Xi's temperament and beauty are all born from within, natural, grand, not delicate or artificial. Zhu Yan never imagined that he would become an actor when he grew up. But the image of her daughter as the king of the country will accompany her throughout her life, making people never tire of it. Zhu Mu said, "Your father said he wants to pick you up." As he spoke, he saw Zhu Yan holding a half-year-old child in his hand and asked, "Whose child are you from? How did you bring him here? Isn't his family in a hurry?" Zhu's father didn't say much and said in a gentle voice, "Come in quickly, don't freeze. It shows the love for my daughter." Zhu Yan smiled with bright eyes and white teeth, her beautiful face carrying a mysterious and sweet response. "Okay, old man." Pulling Xiaotian into the main hall. The two of them suddenly dissipated their cold and felt comfortable. On the middle coffee table, there is a large basket of dumplings wrapped in a strainer, as well as a half-small bowl of pork dumpling filling that has not been fully wrapped. The main wall of the hall is adorned with giant statues of great figures. There is a 14-inch black and white TV set on the main cabinet. Beside them are various ornaments and a stack of books. Then there are solid wood painted red armchairs on both sides of the walls, surrounded by coffee tables. There are various portraits of celebrities and paintings of unknown names hanging on the surrounding walls, highlighting the literary and artistic atmosphere of this restaurant. It makes people feel warm. It also shows that the home life of this family is relatively good. Zhu Mu patted some snowflakes on the two of them and muttered, "Sit down quickly, have some hot water, Mom, go throw dumplings." She brought dumplings and a small bowl and went to the kitchen. "Okay, Mom, I'll go help you right away," Zhu Ying replied. Xiaotian never dared to speak up, and he didn't know if he was a bit afraid of being unfamiliar. At this moment, he said, "I'll go make a fire," and quickly followed him to the kitchen stove. Before Zhu Yan could finish speaking, he saw that Xiaotian had already kicked away. "Old man, this is the grandson I found for you." "Do you want it?" said Zhu Gui, turning back to his father. Without waiting for Zhu's father to reply, he lightly ran to the kitchen. Zhu's father looked helpless. This child, who is celebrating the Chinese New Year, is just talking nonsense. Shaking his head, he lowered his head and picked up the newspaper on the table to read. When Zhu Gui entered the kitchen, he heard his mother say to Xiaotian, "Child, you don't need it. You can let me cook it later." Xiaotian smiled and immediately responded, "It's okay, let my sister rest. I can do it." Zhu Ting listened, but didn't react for a moment. He immediately responded, "Do you know how to burn a fire? Don't burn it out." Xiaotian watched as the bright Zhu Ting walked in and responded in a casual voice, "I can't cook well. Let my mom tell me, there's no other way I can't cook well." Zhu Mu listened happily, with a smile on her face. Upon hearing this, Zhu Ting's dignified and beautiful face glared and said, "Didn't we agree? Who asked you to call me mom?" Upon hearing this, Zhu Mu scolded, "Ah, how are you talking? I just listened strangely." Xiaotian wore a bitter melon face and replied, "You really want to be? Ah." After speaking, he looked constipated. Zhu Xiu raised her eyebrows and a proud expression on her face, saying, "That's not it. You agreed, keep your word." Zhu Mu listened and had already guessed the truth roughly. Blaming Zhu Yan, he said, "You'll just be fooling around. How old are you? There's no such thing as that. Take it out and don't make anyone laugh." Continuing with an authoritative statement, "Just be your younger brother, we happen to have a son as an elderly couple." After speaking, a smile appeared on his face. "Okay, Mom, my name is Xiaotian. My sister said she asked me to follow her surname, and my name is Zhu Xiaotian. Xiaotian quickly responded, afraid that something might happen if it slowed down. But Zhu Xiaotian doesn't always feel that way. Zhu Xiaotian, this feeling is similar to Zhu Beiji's. Xiaotian sighed in his heart. Zhu Beiji became the king of his daughter's kingdom, and later went to marry sister China, with the word Xuan. Xiaotian was smug and lustful. Zhu Xiuxiu frowned slightly and looked at Xiaotian's proud expression, thinking that there was nothing she could do about him, so she felt a bit frustrated. This stinky kid is going back and forth. We need to teach him a lesson and let him know his sister's strength. Thinking about it, he came to Xiaotian's side, half bent down, with a bright smile on his face. Xiaotian felt the aroma rush and took a deep breath. Mixed with a smell of fire, I feel warm and sweet on my body. Just as he didn't know the danger was approaching, Zhu Yan reached out his jade-white and tender hand, holding Xiaotian's ear and gently smiling. Xiaotian suddenly felt uncomfortable. Before he could beg for mercy, he felt a pain in his left ear and quickly responded, "Sigh, sigh, it hurts, sister, be gentle, it hurts, sister, hurry, let go, it hurts, it hurts." Upon seeing it, Zhu Mu immediately scolded, "Ah, what are you doing? If you don't let go again, Mom will hit you." Zhu Yan watched as Xiaotian pretended to be there, without daring to exert any force. He frowned and let out a soft hum. "Release Xiaotian." Xiaotian repeatedly called out, "Sister, sister." Zhu Gue was already not angry, so he wanted to teach this stinky kid a lesson and let him know about the big and small kings. Zhu Ting didn't respond and sat gently beside Xiaotian, holding firewood and occasionally adding it inside. Xiaotian turned his head to look at Zhu Yan's delicate and elegant quiet appearance, pleasing to the eye. Being distracted, Zhu Shi's eyebrows moved slightly and his eyes widened. Suddenly frightened, Xiaotian quickly turned his head to look at the raging fire. The firelight shone on the two of them, their handsome faces swaying brightly, creating a harmonious and warm atmosphere. Zhu's mother made dumplings and soon started cooking. I picked up bowls and chopsticks, filled dumplings, and brought them to the main room. The family was eating dumplings, watching TV, and chatting. The two adults finally understood Xiaotian's identity. As for his surname, he didn't even pay attention to the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com. After all, Xiaotian has relatives around, but he's just not around. Zhu Ting was deeply resentful of this, and his bright eyes and pretty face fiercely gouged out Xiaotian. The family finished their meal. The two of them arrived at the kitchen, and Xiaotian smiled and said to her, "When nobody is around, my name is, okay." Xiaotian didn't expect Zhu Gue to have such a strong desire. Zhu Yan snorted, with a charming smile on her face. "You said it yourself. If you dare to go back, I want you to look good." After speaking, it was like eating honey, sweet. Xiaotian responded with a and said, "Never back out. Whoever backs out will have their own little dog." Zhu Zhuming's eyes curved slightly into crescent-shaped shapes and he chuckled lightly, "It's not a waste of my kindness. I'll bring you back." Xiaotian approached Zhu Ting and whispered softly in her ear, teasing her mischievously, "Then I want to eat Yushua soft. What should I do?" At first hearing it, Zhu Ting didn't react. With a quick thought, he knew what it meant. Suddenly embarrassed and annoyed. "Let you eat fart." He knocked on Xiaotian's head and twisted his ears, unable to relieve his breath. He then used the water from his tender jade hand to stuff it into Xiaotian's neck. Xiaotian shouted, "Oh oh oh," and kept saying, I was wrong, sister, please spare me." The two of them finished arguing. "Tonight, you sleep on the ground, you sleep on the wall, don't sleep on my bed," Zhu Yan said fiercely, still unable to relieve his anger. Looking at Yi Xiaotian's bitter gourd face, Zhu Ting smiled and left with bright eyes and teeth. Yi Xiaotian followed closely behind. In fact, there is something strange in Zhu Yan's heart. This stinky kid is not only bad, but also dares to tease himself. This is something that Zhu Jian has never experienced before. Yi Xiaotian was immersed in the joy of being picked up by the king of the daughter kingdom. Your Majesty, 2 different kings. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, the whole family celebrates. The sound of firecrackers bid farewell to the old year. The entire capital is bustling with the sound of a loud bang. Yi Xiaotian also got up early to pay New Year's greetings to his elders. When Yi Xiaotian received the New Year's money, he was overjoyed and proud. Yi Xiaotian, on the other hand, carried the soft and delicate body of the daughter kingdom king from last night with a lingering fragrance. I have temporarily forgotten about it. Last night, Yi Xiaotian held his daughter, the king of the kingdom, whom he had long admired. He slept all night and laughed while sleeping. Zhu Yan has a dignified and beautiful appearance, charming and charming. But seeing Yi Xiaotian's joyful expression, with a movement of her beautiful eyes, she has a plan in her heart. Not long after Yi Xiaotian was overjoyed, he was called out of the courtyard by Zhu Yan. Zhu Yan's elegant and dignified pretty face was filled with a smile. Proud and delicate, he extended his jade hand and said, "Bring it." Yi Xiaotian was taken aback and said, "What?" Zhu Zhujiao smiled and said, "Just the lucky money." Upon hearing this, Yi Xiaotian knew that his sister was trying to squeeze his younger brother. He quickly shook his head and said, "No, this is mine, and I want to spend it too." Zhu Ting's delicate and tender face stiffened as she threatened, "What are you going to do with it? Buy some firecrackers to play with, give them to me, I'll use them." Yi Xiaotian was confused and pitiful, saying, "What use can you have? Aren't you also a flower? Bullying the big over the small, bullying the strong over the weak, this is oppression. Workers and peasants have already turned over and made their own decisions. You cannot be a capitalist." It's strange and funny to see that Yi Xiaotian is still going through a series of things. Her delicate face remained tense, frightening. "You kids still want to break out of my aunt's palm. Don't think about it in this life. Be good, be quick, or else you'll look good." Zhu Yan was immersed in the pleasure of being a sister and couldn't extricate herself. "Beat your younger brother as soon as possible, otherwise you won't be able to beat him when you're old." Yi Xiaotian looked pitifully at his daughter, the king of the country, who was addicted to bullying him, feeling a stark contrast to his own consciousness of being gentle and dignified. Is this encountering a fake daughter kingdom king? Can only compromise. Leave me half, okay. With a smug smile on her face, Zhu Ju felt the joy of bullying her younger brother and her face lit up. Fake a soft voice. No, I can't leave you at most one piece. Yi Xiaotian looked at him incredulously and said, "That's not possible, at least 8 yuan, not a penny less. 5 yuan, we can't go any further. If you dare not agree, we will give you a certain amount," Zhu Yan said with a pretty face. Yi Xiaotian could only accept being exploited and was extremely aggrieved. "Okay, 5 yuan is 5 yuan." The painful expression on his face after speaking. Zhu Ting smiled coquettishly and took the 4 or 5 yuan bills from her younger brother's hand. She pulled out one and shook it, making a crisp sound. With a domineering smile, Jiao said, "Here you go, spend whatever you want." After speaking, he gave a proud smile. Sighing, having a younger brother is like being comfortable all over. Yi Xiaotian endured injustice and quickly took the crunching 5 pieces, afraid that the king of the daughter country would turn back. She licked her face and smiled compliantly, saying, "Sister is really good. She is domineering and powerful, and follows her to enjoy spicy food." Zhu Jian also didn't care about Yi Xiaotian's small details, using sarcastic language to vent his frustrations. With a wave of her jade hand, she said, "Let's go, sister, take you to buy something delicious." As he spoke, he turned around and walked forward. As soon as Xiaotian saw it, he quickly followed and reminded, "Sister, take it slow and don't slip." Zhu Juxiu had a sweet smile on her face, and she gave a white glance without saying anything. Two people slide forward with 3 steps and 2 steps and 1 movement, supporting each other. Xiaotian has long been deeply concerned about the king of his daughter's kingdom. To make you shudder, to make you exploit, to make you kneel down sooner or later. I must make you scream. Zhu Ting didn't know if he had a sixth sense, so he casually asked, "Are you orchestrating me in your heart and feeling my bad?" Xiaotian was already secretly indulging in lust and feeling proud. Suddenly, I was taken aback and could guess. I haven't reacted yet. At first glance, Zhu Yan saw that this stinky kid really had a heart attack. Sun Monkey caused trouble in the heavenly palace. It was upside down. Her delicate and tender face stiffened, and her watery eyes glared. "Stinky kid, don't you know how to write the word, king? I dare not complain." With ease, he pinched Xiaotian's ear. Xiaotian immediately realized and begged for mercy. "No, no, 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 sister, it's uncomfortable, painful, really not, really dare not. You are my king, the king for a lifetime." Zhu Ting listened to what Xiaotian said was interesting, so he let go and said, "I'll let you go for now. I dare to have another time." He hummed twice. Then, with joy on his face, he smiled coquettishly. "Grab Xiaotian's hand by the way and leave with it." Xiaotian was passively pulled, and after a while, he could only complain, "Sister, this way we both freeze our hands." Zhu Jujiao snorted and remained silent, then took the opportunity to put the tightly intertwined hands of the two into her own pocket. Xiaotian was dragged back and forth in a winding path. Feeling the warmth and tenderness of jade hands, my heart is warm and sweet. Shaolin Temple Fair. One of the busiest temple fairs in Beijing. The two of them stumbled and stumbled for an hour or two before arriving. Along the way, pedestrians rushed to the temple fair, and there were occasional sounds of slipping and shouting. At this time, the temple fair was owned by the people of old Beijing, so it had very folk characteristics and also had the imprint of the times. As Zhu Yan walked, he asked, "What do you want?" Xiaotian looked at the crowd of people and rows of colorful stalls, and exhaled with great momentum. "Nothing is as comfortable as getting into your stomach. It seems we've been hungry all the way. Okay, let's go eat something to cushion ourselves," said Zhu Yan with bright eyes and white teeth, smiling coquettishly. Speaking, he tugged at Xiaotian and moved forward, but there were too many main people. Although it is not shoulder to shoulder, it is still common to get bumped from time to time. Arrived at a special snack stall. Big walnut chocolate, plum candy, big white rabbit milk candy, egg-flavored cookies, crispy cookies, special cakes, chocolate lollipops and other snacks to eat. "What kind of food do you want to eat?" Zhu Juqiao smiled and said. "Big white rabbit milk candy," Xiaotian casually said. Zhu Ting's dignified and delicate beauty instantly warmed up and glared at Xiaotian, saying, "No, eat something else." Xiaotian pretended to be extremely aggrieved and said, "I'll eat whatever you want." Zhu Lin smiled lightly and bought a few items. However, in my heart, I remembered the absurdity of last night again. The first Spring Festival Gala was originally held last night at the Great Hall of the People, live broadcast. The whole family was also watching TV happily and lively. Turning off the lights and going to bed, Xiaotian insisted on hugging Zhu Yan to sleep, saying otherwise he wouldn't be able to sleep, and everything was relatively calm. Not long after, I heard this bad boy humming. "I want to eat big white rabbit milk candy." Zhu Ting responded angrily, "What kind of candy should I eat in the middle of the night? Go to bed quickly. Besides, I don't have any on me now, I'll eat it tomorrow." Xiaotian persisted. Sister has sugar, I have touched it and know where it is. Zhu Ting was puzzled and didn't take it seriously. There was nothing, just nonsense. Xiaotian snorted confidently, then I'll find it and show it to my sister. Zhu Yan thought that Xiaotian was just fooling around and responded, you find it, and I'll give you something to eat. Xiaotian suddenly became mentally alert and unsure. Sister, please don't ignore me. You won't be allowed to resist later. Zhu Yan was too lazy to pay attention to this stinky kid and responded, whatever you want, I'm going to sleep. You eat yours. Xiaotian felt secretly delighted and pretended to touch it, as if he had found something. Pulling open Zhu Lin's buttonless pajamas. My head crawled under my pajamas until I encountered obstacles. Zhu Yan felt that Xiaotian was playing around and didn't take it seriously. He wanted to give him a pat to stop making trouble and go to bed quickly. At this moment, I suddenly feel a heat in my heart. Something is holding on to the summit. Continuously sucking, biting, and nibbling, as well as constantly changing the shape and rules of the heating area. This scared Zhu Yan and he didn't feel sleepy anymore. Pink, that's scorching hot. I never expected that this bad guy would do these embarrassing things. It's so embarrassing that this kind of thing already makes people's ears red and their hearts hot, making it hard to say anything. I am glad that I have studied medicine for so many years and have a lot of theoretical knowledge. Now I finally understand the feeling of this kind of thing. I really can't control myself, I just want this bad guy to continue. Although it was such a fleeting thought, there was a slight delay. It had already made Zhu Yan tremble uncontrollably, and her delicate body tightened. Zhu Yan quickly reached out to grab it and, with a trembling voice, scolded, bad kid, no, this way, come on, stop. Seeing that Xiaotian couldn't be pulled out anymore, Zhu Xian could only press down on Xiaotian's head hard and not let him harm him again. This can hold Xiaotian back quite a bit. Although warm jade covers the surface, this jade is not small and can easily suffocate people. Although Zhu Shi has a slightly better heart, his delicate body is constantly changing. My heart has a unique flavor. I feel a bit shy and embarrassed. I couldn't help but add a bit of strength to my hand. I don't know if it was intentional, not to let myself lose this moment of trembling and deepen my feelings. Xiaotian felt Zhu Yan's movements and anomalies. Stopped for a while, there was no intention of letting go. I have no choice but to save myself. Squeeze vigorously against the vertex with teeth marks, and also apply force to the fingertips. Zhu Ting's delicate body trembled again, in excruciating pain. Urgently pleading for mercy, with a trembling tone and a hint of crying. Pain, let go, Xiaotian, don't do this, don't, let go, sister. I have already loosened my grip and dare not press any further. Xiaotian knew he had completely made his sister cry and stopped playing around. Gently suck in the sweetness. He poked his head out of his pajamas. I got on the wrong body and then slept while pretending to be holding on to Zhu Gue. Zhu Yan was silently crying, because the hard bite just now had brought him to the pinnacle of his life. Nowadays, Zhu Yan is extremely shy, and at the same time, he hates it so much that his teeth itch and feels aggrieved. This bad boy is so ruthless, thanks to how much I love him, he is so heartless. Now I only feel a scorching pain, as if he has bitten through my skin. The more I think, the more angry I become, and I don't want to talk to him anymore. It's only my fault for picking up a guy with a human face and a beast heart. Thinking about it, he pulled away Xiaotian's hand that was wrapped around his waist. Twist to one side. Xiaotian is panicking now, not afraid of the king crying, not afraid of the king causing trouble, not afraid of the king ignoring people and dealing with them coldly. This is something that needs to be played out. You can't be blacklisted just by patting the king's waist. Xiaotian immediately promotes the spirit of being a scoundrel. I leaned up close again. Hold tightly. Zhu Ju moved, and he also moved until there was no place to move. Zhu Ting was angry and his voice was a bit cold. What do you want to do? Sleep in your sleep. You can go home by yourself tomorrow. I can't sleep with you here. Xiaotian's heart was half cold as he listened, and he hurriedly rescued him, saying, Sister, I was wrong. I dare not do it anymore. I will listen to you from now on. I will never say two when you say one. Don't want me, okay? Whoever you love, whoever you want, don't bother me like a hooligan. You leave, I'll live with you, and don't call me sister. We're not related to each other. Zhu Yan was ruthlessly carrying a cold feeling and venting his anger. After listening, Xiaotian fell silent for a while, knowing that he had indeed gone too far. Since I met Zhu Jian, I have always regarded her as my own queen. Say some teasing words and do something excessive. So much so that I was so proud that I forgot that although Zhu Yan was dignified and beautiful, gentle and generous, she was also a young daughter with a temper. Xiaotian silently stepped aside and turned to sleep, his mind also in chaos. Tomorrow seems to be leaving, otherwise I'll wait for someone to drive me away. Although I'm reluctant, I can't do it. Who wants me to be okay? I have to act recklessly. Thinking about it, just thinking about leaving and needing to return to that empty home. I feel a bit heartbroken. After Zhu Yan finished venting, his heart became much smoother. Seeing that Xiaotian was no longer clinging to him, he also relaxed a lot. But there is always some unhappiness in my heart. After all, this is the first little man to have intimate contact with him. I still picked it up by myself, and I am very attached to myself. It can be said that being obedient is not an exaggeration. Under my heart, I began to suddenly realize. Xiaotian remained silent and motionless. Knowing that he had just spoken too heavily, he gave up his attachment to himself. Zhu Ting turned around in anger and pulled Xiaotian over, then hugged him and scolded him fiercely, You're still angry when you treat your sister like this. After speaking, he lightly patted Xiaotian's back. Xiaotian was already filled with both surprise and joy by this time. Busy continued, I'm not angry, but I'm afraid my sister won't want me anymore and won't dare to move around. Saying pitiful words. Zhu Ting was slightly annoyed, and Yu said angrily, Just don't want you. You're so ruthless and mischievous. After finishing, he lightly hummed. Xiaotian hurriedly promised, I dare not do it again. I will be good to my sister for the rest of my life and marry her as my daughter. In law when I grow up. Zhu Ting listened, feeling a little sweet in his heart. This kid knew he was good to him and wanted to love him for a lifetime. Anyone who listens will feel heartwarming. He chuckled coquettishly and said, You naughty kid, no matter how old you are, you just want to marry a wife. I'm afraid you'll despise me for being old in the future and keep me far away. Xiaotian smiled and said, Then let's get married now. No one dislikes anyone. You don't dislike me for being young. I don't dislike you for being big. Say hee and be happy. Do you still dislike it when you are old? Zhu Jian deliberately asked. Xiaotian quickly spoke softly and said, I despise everyone in this world, nor will I despise my sister. You are my white moonlight, your majesty, my king. Just like the king of the daughter country, it is my lifelong pursuit and love. Listening to Xiaotian's lewd words, Zhu Yan felt a little embarrassed and intoxicated. Lightly rebuked, You're so young, who did you learn from? You want to fight, right? Xiaotian pretended to beg for mercy and said, I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. Sister doesn't like it, so I won't say it in the future. Zhu Yan snorted and said, I'm going to tell other girls. A tone of deliberate anger. Xiaotian chuckled inwardly and pretended to be puzzled, asking, Is the king's sister jealous? Zhu Yan patted Xiaotian lightly and said, Who's jealous of you? He felt a little angry in his heart. This bad guy knows everything. I only want to have a sister in my life. Xiaotian started his romantic conversation again. Zhu Ting quickly begged for mercy and said, all right, you're the only one with a sweet mouth. Sister is afraid of you, go to bed quickly. Xiaotian then arched into Zhu Gui's arms again, holding the king and burying his head in the soft and warm mass. Breathing sweet and fragrant breath. Zhu Ting couldn't help it either. He had just caused a stir and now he still feels a little pain, so he doesn't think about anything extra. Embrace the person who makes oneself sweet and fall asleep. In no time, Zhu Ting felt a surge of anger. I have no choice but to extend my jade hand and hold it to avoid causing unrest. Upon hearing a soft, in his arms, Zhu Yan hugged even tighter and didn't say anything more. Slowly fall asleep. The next day, when he woke up early, the warm dot-up was still in Yu's hands and he didn't escape. Zhu Ting didn't know what was going on, he was a bit shy, but he found it funny. The Three North Zhu Ju is worth owning. Xiaotian enters the cultural and entertainment industry. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Zhu Yan lightly lowered his head. Shake away the chaotic thoughts. Zhu Yan led Xiaotian and watched as he walked, watching the various performances and acrobatics. Sometimes it makes everyone laugh and applaud. Xiaotian is not interested in the troubles around him, he is more concerned about the king's thoughts and worries. Every time Xiaotian wants to eat a snack, he always asks Zhu Lin to take a bite first before he eats it. At this moment, Zhu Yan was satisfied and smiled delicately. Xiaotian is also physically and mentally relaxed, carefree and contented. At this moment, the adults who came into view were all carrying, hugging, or holding each other. The children and relatives around us often hold food and toys in their hands. His face was filled with festive laughter. The two of them strolled for a while, feeling extremely happy both physically and mentally. What is needed for the Chinese New Year is the atmosphere, laughter and joy. The two squeezed out amidst the laughter and firecrackers. Passing by for a photo, Zhu Yan had to wait in line for almost half an hour and took a photo. Xiaotian looked at Zhu Ju with bright eyes, white teeth, and a charming smile. He placed the photo in his arms and even took a photo. Also laughing along with it. What the king cares about can only be agreed upon by Xiaotian. Two people go to the cinema together. There are many lively people on the road. Occasionally, foreigners come out in small cars to experience the festive atmosphere here. And take photos as a souvenir. At this time, Yen City was covered with a layer of silver white. Occasionally, someone takes photos of snow scenes as a souvenir. During the Spring Festival, many new and old films were screened here. Used to meet people's spiritual and cultural needs during festivals. The two of them are looking at the movie poster. Among the more than 20 newly released films, find the one that interests you the most. Look at this fire doll, it sounds quite interesting, Zhu Yan said with a charming smile on her pretty face. Xiaotian glanced at it and responded, if you want to watch it, just watch the stage play, Kai Wenji. What stage play do you watch, but you don't act, Zhu Yan scolded coquettishly. Xiaotian chuckled and said, that's not certain. In the future, who will be right? Sister is so dignified and elegant, gentle and virtuous, which any director likes. Let's learn now. As he spoke, he picked up Zhu Ting and walked inside. Zhu Ting, dissatisfied, pulled him backwards. Unfortunately, Xiaotian's strength is extremely strong, and he usually gives way to Zhu Ju. Zhu Yan was dragged in helplessly, still feeling angry and complaining, I'll see what you like, and I won't bring you here again. I won't follow my sister at all, and I won't let you sleep when I go back. Xiaotian remained silent and dragged Zhu Jian, who was chattering incessantly, inside to buy tickets to watch the movie. This is a film that lasts for over 2 hours, and it only dazzles Zhu Jian, squeezing Yi Xiaotian's waist. Yi Xiaotian also watched it drowsily, just because stage plays are not something that ordinary people can tolerate, and he just wants to doze off. The two of them still insist on reading it all, otherwise they will buy the tickets for nothing. On the way back, Zhu Ting coquettishly said, "Xiaotian, you don't love your sister anymore. She will ignore you in the future." Yi Xiaotian said helplessly, "Sister, why are you like a child?" "Oh my goodness. Who is the child? Tell me again and see if I don't pinch you," Zhu Yan said in a coquettish voice, feeling angry. Yi Xiaotian quickly begged for mercy, saying, "Sister is not. Sister is the most understanding and reasonable. Sister is as beautiful as a fairy, sinking fish and falling geese, and a heavenly maiden descending to earth." Zhu Jiannin's face felt embarrassed when she was criticized, so she quickly stopped and said, "Don't please me. Sister, how could you be so kind? You can just talk nonsense." The words were spoken, but Ming Yan had bright teeth and was already overjoyed. Yi Xiaotian sighed inwardly. Women, they have different opinions, it's too difficult to serve. Although thinking about it, Yi Xiaotian still affirmed, "If sister isn't the most beautiful, I'll walk head down." "You want to learn how to do monkey somersaults," Zhu Yan said with a beautiful smile. She bent down with a smile as she spoke. Yi Xiaotian helplessly supported, "Sister, don't fall, I'll take you to dance." Zhu Ting hesitated for a moment, wondering, where to dance. "There's a party, let's go join in the fun." As Yi Xiaotian spoke, he slowly walked away with Zhu Yan, who was full of questions. After walking for about half an hour, I saw people coming and going, mostly towards the inner hall. Yi Xiaotian dragged the somewhat embarrassed Zhu Yan into the room, it was overcrowded. "They are all dancing social dances, slow and lively." Yi Xiaotian dragged the bewildered Zhu Ting into the dance floor. Holding Zhu Lin's soft waist with one hand and interlocking her 10 fingers. Zhu Ting naturally supported Yi Xiaotian's shoulder with her jade hand and danced slowly to the beautiful music. Front, front, back, left, right, right. At the beginning, I was still walking, but gradually my taste changed. Two people with 4 eyes facing each other will deteriorate over time. A gentle touch and sparks flowed between their eyes. Zhu Yan was so charming that she felt like letting this bad brother bully her for a lifetime. The more you look, the more you find it attractive. Clear eyebrows and eyes, he must be handsome in the future. Yi Xiaotian has another idea. The king of the daughter kingdom has fallen, and he must bully and bully well in the future. It is said that North Zhu and South Gong are so delicate a flower that it will not be satisfying to bully for a lifetime. If Zhu Shi knew about Yi Xiaotian's crooked thoughts, he would definitely have to clean up again. Proud Zhu Shi, with Yi Xiaotian, never gives in. Because Yi Xiaotian has bitten himself before, he will never be weak. The lingering tenderness between the two did not last long. "Let's dance together." Both of them lost their passion and quickly retreated. On the way back, Yi Xiaotian hesitated to say, "Sister, let's have a fight to ease our relationship." Zhu Ting lowered his head and looked at him with tenderness like water, but he had no words. The two of them walked slowly as snowflakes drifted down one after another. I don't know how long it took, but when I reached a short alley, there was no one there, as if it was a small piece of abandoned old land. There are walls on both sides of the short alley, and there are gaps where one person can pass through. When Yi Xiaotian saw this, his heart skipped a beat. With a fierce heart, he grabbed Zhu Yan's jade hand and squeezed into the alley. The world suddenly became peaceful. "What are you doing? You want to rebel," Zhu Yan scolded coquettishly. As he spoke, he saw a flicker of desire in Yi Xiaotian's eyes. "I know Yi Xiaotian's thoughts. Little Tian, dare you bully your sister?" "I will never." Zhu Yan quickly rebuked lightly. Before he could finish speaking, he was pressed against the wall by Xiaotian, causing Zhu Ting to panic. I saw that Xiaotian had already leaned forward, fiercely holding onto Zhu Yan's soft lips. Zhu Ting was startled and quickly pushed and shoved Xiaotian, but unfortunately, his strength was not as strong and ineffective. Xiaotian kissed his long-awaited vermilion lips, feeling extremely excited. Zhu Ting wanted to tilt his head, and Xiaotian arrogantly fixed it with his hand. Zhu Yan was embarrassed and annoyed, and didn't open his mouth. Xiaotian sucked fiercely, and in no time, it was possible that Zhu Ting's heart had ruptured, so he let it go. Soft lips slightly parted, and Xiaotian took the opportunity to enter the vermilion lips. Kissing, sucking, teasing Zhu Yan, in no time, the two of them entwined with a spirit snake, coming and going, swallowing each other's saliva. At this point, the snowflakes had gradually grown larger, and the two of them were immersed in entanglement and ignorance. Zhu Yan, who was kissed by Xinyu Tianwei, unconsciously climbed up Xiaotian's waist with both hands. Hold tightly, as if this can alleviate one's own needs. Xiaotian also constantly grasps, takes the initiative, and induces him to become intoxicated. Unconsciously, a snowflake fell on the two of them, telling the story of how they had been addicted to their tender desires for a long time. It's been a long time. The two lips separate, and the threads connect and break. Sister, we. Xiaotian looked at Zhu Ting, lost in thought, and his heart lit up again. Zhu Yan's drunken eyes were hazy, and his cheeks turned red. He sensed Xiaotian's thoughts and quickly interrupted, "No, if you bully your sister again, she will, and she will never talk to you again." After a while, he spoke without any deterrent power. Xiaotian felt that everything had to be strong once, and his eyes looked at Zhu Yan's charming and delicate face with domineering eyes. Heaven is the quilt, and the earth is the bed. It's not worth a trip to the world. Sister, I want to protect you for a lifetime, and love you. Zhu Ting looked at Xiaotian in shock, not expecting him to say such shameless words. With warmth and anger, he sternly rebuked him, "Xiaotian, you rogue, you. How could you say such things? How do you want your sister to be a good person? Do you want to get pregnant before marriage and have children for you?" Xiaotian chuckled lightly and said, "Sister, who studies medicine, is using this to tease me. I may not know as much about sexual affairs as my sister does." Then he fiercely attacked Zhu Yan's heart and said, "If my sister doesn't like me, it's okay. I don't want to force her, I just want to keep her for a lifetime. If my sister really wants to drive me away, then let's just pretend I haven't come." Saying and acting is about to leave. Zhu Qian has never experienced such a gentle attack, using retreat as a means of advancement, and constantly talking about love. Seeing Xiaotian about to leave, he habitually tugged at him. "This is great, just pull it into your arms. Next is to block the soft lips and start the snake winding around again." Zhu Yan was once again flustered, but after experiencing it once, he couldn't help but let it take away. "I am once again addicted to it. Xiaotian needs to take further action." Zhu Ting quickly parted his lips and begged for mercy, "Xiaotian, don't be like this, okay? Sister promised you that she will give it to you in the future. Can you let sister adapt to it?" Xiaotian saw this and also knew that Zhu Ting had a mental obstacle, so he gave up. After kissing for a while, they sorted each other out and left the short alley. The two of them entwined their fingers and slowly walked towards home. Until two faint figures are left behind. The joy of the new year has left Xiaotian with endless nostalgia, and it has also made Zhu Gui's memory particularly fresh. Xiaotian remembered the money-added layman from embroidering spring knife. Very moist, very tender, very smooth. Zhu Jian looked at Xiaotian, who was not yet as tall as himself. Very scared, very panicked, very sad. This year is an important year, and it is also a year of continuous major events. A giant, accompanied by a group of strong men, injected a strengthening and sobering shot onto the dragon. At this point, the giant dragon writhed and leaped until it took off, soaring into the sky, causing fear and inexplicable amazement among the barbarians. This is a generation that opens a new chapter, praises giants, and marks the beginning of China's journey towards the world and embracing the future. Giants ponder the future, and even the little ones move forward with enthusiasm and courage. Great things have capable people to manage, and even small things have people to nag. You stinky kid, isn't it that you've turned around every day? If you dare not sign up, I'll beat you to death, Zhu Yan whispered in his ear. This successfully brought himself into the role of an elder, causing both annoyance and joy for Xiaotian. This year's college entrance examination has begun, and many knowledgeable young people are carrying dreams and exploring their future and destiny. Xiaotian is also one of the kidnapped members. Xiaotian is well aware of the future trend and doesn't want to waste time anymore. He has been looking for opportunities to see if he can make waves in the Xiangjiang River. Just because at this time, Xiangjiang was at the forefront of the world, and there were many talented individuals who rose to fame here. But someone with an elder's heart disagreed and sternly scolded, "You little brat, you haven't grown enough hair yet. You still want to go out and explore, stay at home obediently, and complete your studies." Xiaotian's heart is broken and sad. Being under the control of Her Majesty the Queen still brings a sense of happiness. But he always says he's a little brat, uncle can't bear it, aunt can't bear it. So on many lonely moonlit nights, a little brat turned over and became the master. Tormented someone who cried and begged for mercy. Fortunately, we have a bottom line and cannot go too far. Because that was Her Majesty's last point of insistence, someone dared not exceed it. Otherwise, there wouldn't even be any residue left. Because of this, Xiaotian became a nanny, and if Her Majesty didn't command her for a day, she wouldn't be able to do anything. After taking a shower without a towel, Xiaotian had to take it time and time again. Anything that can be summoned must be summoned. Xiaotian felt helpless. Her Majesty the Queen enjoys it tirelessly. Xiaotian looked at His Majesty the Goddess with frustration and said, "Can't I still listen to you? Don't be like a mother tiger, you'll scare me." Xiaotian was extremely frustrated, leaving only a weak and powerless resistance. Her Majesty the Queen looked up at the swan's neck with a proud smile and a charming expression. "That's pretty much the same. I won't argue with you little brat today. If you dare to say I'm a tiger next time, I'll make your butt blossom." It seems that this has been fought more than once, but whether it has been hit or not is unknown. Anyway, Her Majesty the Queen has an imposing aura that makes people retreat. Xiaotian pursed his lips and said, "Just a few times, you're as delicate as a flower. You've been pretending and crying for mercy. Those who hit people are always beaten, while those who hit back are delicate, soft, and rosy like clouds." In the end, there were only cherry blossom shell teeth left, which had to be taken care of. They were verbose and full of expression. This is their daily routine, always bickering and frolicking, slowly passing through. On this day, under the earnest concern of Zhu Jian, Xiaotian entered the examination room and opened a new chapter. Xiaotian thought of those nationally renowned universities and felt that it was a waste of time. What he longed for was the film and television industry. It is a significant and far-reaching responsibility to train the acting skills of those eligible beauties. So Xiaotian, based on the concept of, "I don't cross people, who crosses people," enrolled in the most famous director class. Xiaotian had a beautiful idea, but in the end, he turned himself into a capital tycoon, with his mouth wide open, gazing down at the entertainment industry, looking for any delicious food. Don't miss it. Her Majesty the Queen is unaware of Xiaotian's tolerance, but is passionately in love with her own happiness. A total of 150 people were admitted to the Beijing Film Academy's 78th grade, including many famous directors and actors. Xiaotian quietly joined in and became the smallest member. In September 1978, Zhu Xinzhuang. Admitted candidates from all over the country bid farewell to their loved ones, packed their backpacks, and traveled along land and water routes, crossing the land of northern China and Jiangnan, walking towards Beiying Academy. Walking towards this college, far away from the city and surrounded by farmland. Hopes, aspirations, fantasies, and hard work, dedicating their youth to the revival of movies, leap in the hearts of every admitted person. Although there is a sign of Beijing Film Academy hanging on the cement pillar at the entrance of the school, in reality, this is the former building of Agricultural University. Because it is an agricultural university, not only is the campus spacious, surrounded by farmland, covering a wide area, but there is also an orchard. Looking around, it is vast, with a stunning view and a broad mind. Zhujianzhuang, a desolate and barren land, has become the cradle of trendy movies. The unexpected ups and downs of the world often give people a rare surprise. Life is never like this. 41 groups of ambitious Beiying people. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. For some unknown reason, it was deleted and modified in the background. We apologize for any inconvenience caused. Take a look, I don't even know which ones have been deleted or modified. You said it's annoying but not annoying. A group of young people in their prime, with different moods and stories, confidently entered this highest institution of film art. The 5 departments of director, performance, photography, art, and recording were originally scheduled to recruit more than 100 people, with each major only admitting 15.20 people. But there are too many candidates, and we have to expand the enrollment quota. There are nearly 10,000 applicants for the performance show alone, with a sea of people and a sea of darkness. At that time, Beiying Academy established 3 examination areas in Yanjing, Shanghai, and Xi'an across the country. Due to the large number of candidates, each major in the North examination area has several examination rooms, and each department has to go through 2 checkpoints. Initial and final exams. After a large-scale elimination, a small number of outstanding students in the art major will be left behind to take the cultural course exam. Only those who pass the exam can be admitted. The film analysis exam of the directing department screened heroes and daughters. After the film was screened, hundreds of candidates were brought into several classrooms to engage in intense writing. 30 minutes later, the youngest candidate quickly handed in the paper. A teacher from the directing department asked him strangely, "Have you finished answering?" "I'm done answering." "Don't you check again?" "No need." He walked out alone. I bought a few popsicles by the small vending booth on campus. An elderly teacher slowly walked over and asked the young candidate with concern, "What's wrong with you? Did you do well in the exam?" It's okay, thank you very much." You won't feel too sad just because you watched Heroes and Daughters, will you? "Oh, no, thank you, teacher." Then he greeted and disappeared from the school gate. The teacher sighed and shook his head. At the same time, another person also walked out and went to the shade under the big tree. I bought a popsicle and a pack of cigarettes by the small vending booth. The elderly teacher slowly walked over and asked the candidate with concern, "What's wrong with you? Did you do well on the exam? Is there anything uncomfortable sitting here alone?" No, I'm waiting for my companion Shinkaizi, he hasn't finished writing yet. I feel sad after watching Heroes and Daughters, right?" "No, thank you, teacher." Just now, there was also a young person like you who left a few minutes earlier. Sigh. Young people nowadays are so full of ambition, proud, passionate, and refreshed. This student named Tianzhuang Zhuang was surprised to find someone even more arrogant than himself. When the exams for director, performance, recording, and art departments are all being held intensively. The head of the photography department and several professors carefully examined a photo album and pondered it over. There are 40 or 50 photos posted on the album, capturing everything from scenery, portraits, still life, and life scenes. Undoubtedly, this is a talented, diligent and meticulous photographer, a rare and promising artistic talent. Unfortunately, his age exceeds the limit, said the department head. How much has it exceeded? Can't we break the norm? A talented professor argued. He is 28 years old, over 6 years old. According to our regulations, he is under 22 years old. But if such a person is let go, we will always regret it in the future. Do you dare to relax the age limit? Relaxing for 2 months will increase the number of candidates by 200, relaxing for half a year will increase the number of candidates by 500. If you relax for 1 year, you can immediately increase the number of candidates by 1,000. How many people do you need to increase in order to legally qualify him for the exam? Where is he from and what is his name? A native of Shaanxi, his name is Zhang Mozi. However, the willows are dark and the flowers are bright, and they emerge from nowhere. At that time, the leaders of the Ministry of Culture issued 2 instructions for the enrollment of the Film Academy. One of the instructions is to discover a special photography talent, Zhang Mozi, who is over age and unable to take the exam. He hopes to make an exception and be admitted. He will study for 2 years, mainly in image photography. After the completion of his studies, he can be considered to be assigned to a news recording film studio to work in news or image photography. For this instruction, the college leaders have been in a difficult position. Beijing Film Academy has never had an example of accepting students without taking an exam before. At the same time, Xiaotian was also admitted due to excellent grades, breaking the minimum age limit of the college. How will history evaluate the merits and demerits of this exceptional admission? However, the 2 individuals who achieved excellent results later caused a sensation in the world film industry. Undoubtedly worthy of this exceptional admission, deserving of Beijing Film Academy, and also worthy of film history. Beijing Film Academy. We're here. Xiaotian was sent to school by Zhu Yan, who showed great care and chattered on, you should study with peace of mind at school and not have conflicts with your classmates. You are still young, so let anything happen and don't have conflicts. Xiaotian responded helplessly, I'm the youngest, why didn't they let me down? Looking at Zhu Juxiu's eyebrows furrowing, he quickly changed his mind and said, okay, I understand. I'll listen to you. We must unite and love each other, help and compromise. Zhu Gui's delicate face unfolded in a charming manner, smiling softly. At this moment, Zhu Yan is combing 2 thick and long black braids, a clean and beautiful face, pure and flawless. The swan's long neck is snow-white and beautiful, wearing a milky white women's long shirt with unbuttoned neckline, revealing a snow-white hue. Her slender jade legs were draped over deep blue pants, with 2 slightly wider straps tied over her shoulders. On the jade feet are pure white shoes. A truly fashionable beauty, unparalleled in beauty, with a unique charm. Xiaotian looked at his Majesty, who was so delicate and beautiful. Sister, when I go back, I want to eat. No, you bad guy. What's on your mind every day? If you're not serious all day, you can't be okay. Upon hearing this, Zhu Ting immediately understood its meaning and hurriedly stopped the conversation. His eyebrows moved and his beautiful eyes widened. After hearing this, Xiaotian pursed his lips and looked helplessly at the sky, saying, if I don't have a crush on my sister, you can't chase me around the world and beat me, begging for an explanation. Zhu Yan was angry and wanted to reach out to pinch it, while Xiaotian quickly dodged. Zhu Jujiao snorted and threatened, you bad guy, if you dare to dislike me in the future, I won't talk to you anymore. I said a few words without any deterrent power. Xiaotian knew that although Zhu Ting seemed strong, his heart was actually weak. He regarded Xiaotian as a lifelong reliance, so he couldn't say multiple words. Xiaotian quickly coaxed, sister, look at what you said. Unless I die, I will marry you in this life. You will never escape from the palm of my hand in this life. Zhu Zhan smiled and no longer felt sour in his heart. He snorted, you can handle it. Alright, hurry up and take care of yourself. After thinking for a moment, he said, when you come back, I'll let you eat dumplings. After speaking, her delicate face blushed like rosy clouds. Xiaotian smiled and agreed, it's better for you, sister. If it hurts me, then I'll go. After saying hello, I went to report. Zhu Yan looked at him with joy, and this bad guy would act recklessly. Watching Xiaotian disappear without a trace, thinking about sweet thoughts, he turned around and left. Xiaotian arrived at the registration office and signed in to collect his belongings. Then he walked towards the arranged dormitory. There are not many students in this period, but the success rate is the highest. Looking at the shining young people passing by, Xiaotian was also infected. To outsiders, he is actually the youngest. Xiaotian was walking on the shady path when suddenly a voice came from behind. Ah, that classmate, wait a moment, the voice of a girl behind was calling out. Xiaotian looked around and found no one around, so he turned around to see if he was calling himself. I saw a tall girl wearing a white long-sleeved butterfly shirt, rushing towards this place. Recently, the girl saw that Xiaotian had a small face and was almost as tall as herself. She smiled sweetly and asked, Comrade, are you a student here? Xiaotian looked silently at the beautiful girl in front of him, pursed his lips, and politely replied, Yes, sister, what's up? The girl saw that Xiaotian was a bit unhappy, so she felt a bit embarrassed and asked softly, I'm also a student here and I'm not familiar with this. I'm looking for a dormitory. When I see you, I'll ask. Xiaotian still replied kindly, It's okay, we're all classmates, we should help each other. Follow me, the male and female dormitories are in the front building. As she spoke, she turned around and left, and the girl quickly followed suit. The girl felt that she might not be able to speak well, which made others unhappy. Seeing that Xiaotian should not be big, she approached and said, Classmate, are you a local? How do you call her? Which class? It seems like you're not big. Xiaotian casually replied, I'm a local. Xiaotian, from the director's class, will be 14 years old after the Chinese New Year. The girl listened for a moment and was stunned. Her mouth was open, but she didn't react for a moment. After a while, she said, Classmate, you're so young. It's actually a director's class. Maybe you'll have to take care of me in the future. He whispered again, My name is Liu Dong, and I'm also here. In the performance class, I'm half a turn older than you. After speaking, she smiled sweetly as if she was very happy. Xiaotian saw Liu Dong following him with a bright smile and deliberately asked, Did you eat candy? Liu Dong casually said, No, there's nothing. He was stunned for a moment and realized that this kid did it intentionally. So Liu Dong put on a big sister's demeanor and said, You little classmate, it's not serious. Even your sister is playing poor. Speaking naturally, it's a local habit to touch Xiaotian. Xiaotian naturally knew what it meant, so he was busy and turned his head. This was a conditioned reaction nurtured by Zhu Yan, and this sister also wanted to pinch her ear. Xiaotian pretended to be dissatisfied and said indignantly, Let's talk but don't act. You are both the eldest and eldest sisters. How could you act with a man? Liu Dong smiled and whispered softly, Why, are you quick-witted? You're used to being bullied at home, right? Sister, I have a bad temper. If I'm not serious, be careful, I'll take care of you little one. Xiaotian had no choice but to learn how to tolerate the threat of his older sister in the first lesson of school. Xiaotian pouted and said, All right, you're amazing. Don't argue with the little man, okay? Liu Dong listened to Xiaotian's sarcastic remarks without refuting them. He smiled and said, You're a sensible and obedient kid. In the future, my sister will take care of you. Upon hearing this, Xiaotian suddenly regained his energy and asked, "You must be obedient. That sister will have to wrap up the clothes I change to wash in the future." Upon hearing this, Liu Dong saw the boy climb up the pole and glanced at Xiaotian. He also felt that he was still young, so he felt a sense of compassion and said, "All right, just say a few words about you and treat me like a servant. If you have dirty clothes in the future, just bring them over." Xiaotian nodded hastily and said, "Okay." The two of them spoke with great familiarity. Looking from afar, I thought it was my siblings laughing and chatting. Xiaotian sighed. How good the girls are now. They are helpful and don't have so many twists and turns. Even if they are not artificial. It's really good. Liu Dong actually felt that Xiaotian was a bit small, but he was clever and didn't want to suffer any losses. The student dormitory is adjacent to the orchard, with rows of neatly arranged large rooms for 7 or 8 people to live in each room, which is not a problem. Xiaotian escorted Liu Dong to the entrance of the women's dormitory, said, "See you later," and then went to find his own dormitory. It wasn't long before he also found it. Liu Dong greeted as soon as he entered, and there were 4 or 5 girls coming. There were a total of 9 people in this dormitory, all of whom were classmates from a performance class. Let's introduce each other, and there are Shen Danping, Lu Jing, and others from faraway places who have already arrived. As soon as Xiaotian entered the door, he saw 4 or 5 people chatting there. We greeted each other inside and introduced each other. I only found out that it was Chen Kaizi, Zhuang, and other great directors from a few days later. The farm suddenly thought of something and asked, "Are you the one who submitted the paper early?" Xiaotian was taken aback and replied, "I submitted it earlier, maybe it was. There should have been someone earlier than me." Zhuang smiled and said, "So it's you." I was surprised at the time, but who is even crazier than me? After speaking, I laughed heartily. Chen Kaizi smiled and said, "I've heard that there's a young junior brother. Haha, he's just assigned to us. We'll need to help each other in the future." Wu Nyozi also smiled and said, "Well, I heard about it when I came here. He's a great talent, not only good at film reviews and defense, but also the smallest. It's really good to find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. If you need it in the future, just speak up and we will help you." Xiaotian smiled and said, "That's a good relationship. You are all future great directors, but I'm not being respectful. When it's time to speak up, I won't hide it." After speaking, everyone smiled. Unexpectedly, this little junior brother, despite his small stature and worldly wisdom, is not at all inferior to others. He is a person. Xia Gengzi smiled and said, "Our class is also considered the earliest. I heard there are still a few female classmates." Xiaotian smiled and said, "If a woman can hold up half of the sky, she may become a great director who won't let men down in the future." Chen Kaizi smiled and said, "You're really lively and can compliment people, but in this film and television industry, men still dominate." Everyone was laughing. Zhuang said again, "Our teachers are Teacher Wang and Teacher Situ. These two are powerful figures. If we can learn from them, we will definitely excel." Xiaotian said, "I heard that these two esteemed teachers are usually approachable, but they are rigorous, meticulous, and serious in academics. They are models of strict teachers and high apprentices, which shows that our blessings are not shallow." Chen Kaizi said, "Well, that's reasonable. Without strict guidance from teachers, it's difficult for us to achieve success and make a career." Everyone nodded in agreement. I don't know what the situation is with the other dormitories, but Xiaotian's dormitory is still harmonious. Be good to others and be good to oneself. This is also Xiaotian's first day of perception and cognition. Xiaotian knows that his future is broad, but he also needs to take it slowly, not in a hurry. Thinking of sleeping alone tonight, I miss His Majesty the King a bit. Sigh. Men, they can't do without the adjustment of women for a moment. This is the balance of yin and yang, the way of generating vitality. On the first day of the 5th semester, I only realized that it was Lady Yue. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The first lesson of the school year, the director's class consists of more than 20 people, gathered in a spacious and bright classroom. Both men and women have a certain proportion, with a preference for men over women. Director department teachers, Teacher Wang, and Teacher Situ are here to meet everyone and call their names one by one to familiarize themselves with their students. Teacher Wang smiled and said, "I am very pleased to have spent a few years with you ambitious and energetic young people. As the saying goes, no rules, no square, no dragon without a head. Next, let's choose a class monitor to lead everyone in helping each other." Teacher Situ once again said, "You can all recommend yourself, or you can recommend yourself. You don't have to hide anything, you need confidence and vitality here." All the classmates were stunned, some hesitated, but at this moment, there were many people who were shy and reserved. I won't have as many thick-skinned and shameless people as later generations. Xiaotian took a look and saw those who were eager to try and also cheering him up. He stood up and said, "Teacher and teacher, why don't you just choose one for yourself? Here are all excellent talents who can handle it, and now it's just a bit embarrassing." After speaking, he sat down. Chen Kaizi also stood up and said, "Teacher, we are all a collective, and we cannot make a scene just for the sake of a class monitor. It's up to the teacher to decide." Jianzhuang Zhuang also stood up and said, "Teacher, we live in the same room together. We will all help each other in the future, and we cannot harbor grudges over a small matter." The remaining classmates nodded in agreement, and those who hesitated also relaxed their bodies. Teacher Wang and Teacher Situ were very satisfied with everyone's words and actions, and they believed that mutual assistance was the right principle. Teacher Wang said again, "Since that's the case, we won't dispel the mutual love among our classmates. This class monitor is also running errands for everyone." Teacher Situ said again, "Let the youngest student in the class take on this commanding task." After speaking, everyone laughed and looked at Xiaotian. Xiaotian smiled back slightly awkwardly, but unexpectedly turned around and came back. Teacher Wang smiled and said, "It's just Xiaotian. You're the youngest, and everyone won't have any objections. It's also convenient to use you. People have fast calves." After finishing speaking, everyone laughed heartily again. The atmosphere instantly became lively. Xiaotian stood up and replied, "Since the teacher and classmates have no objections, I'll just be a errand runner. Don't shout, 'Waiter, serve tea.' Otherwise, I'll think I'm a errand runner." Everyone found what Xiaotian said interesting and laughed incessantly. Everyone thinks that Xiaotian will come and liven up the atmosphere. Teacher Wang and Teacher Situ nodded with a smile, feeling that Xiaotian did a great job and it was necessary for everyone to have a happy learning life. At this point, the head of the director's class was appointed, Xiaotian and Yide. The next two teachers will talk about the course arrangement for the entire learning career in the past 2 years. Teacher Wang said, "You will be the new generation of film talents, with a heavy and long way to go. Of course, course arrangements are also very important. We must keep up with the pace of the times, pay attention to the inheritance of traditional film art, and actively explore innovation. You will undergo systematic and professional learning to become film talents and contribute to the prosperity and development of the film industry in the future. Of course, we also believe that you will uphold tradition, explore and innovate, and contribute your own efforts." After speaking, everyone applauded warmly. It takes a long time to rest. Teacher Situ said again, "Let me talk about the course schedule. First, basic courses. Film history, film theory, and basic writing, which are basic requirements. Second, professional courses. Directing skills, photography, lighting, and post-production, which are essential professional knowledge. Third, expansion courses. film production, film market, and film aesthetics, which are necessary knowledge for expanding. Teacher Situ briefly explained the course schedule, as well as a series of knowledge such as teaching. All of them are given out without any hidden secrets. It also makes everyone's hearts more stable, reducing anxiety and confusion. Everyone knows that there is such a teacher, why worry about not being able to showcase their talents? Other classmates didn't know that Xiaotian was ambitious and ambitious. Then he briefly said it again and asked Xiaotian to call a few people to get the books. Xiaotian, with a selfless attitude, called on the last row of laborers to do hard work. Don't be fooled by Chen Kaizi's unattractive appearance, he is tall and in the last row. The few who came along with it can be considered as gradually getting to know each other. When we arrived at the library, there were quite a few people coming to move books. Surprisingly, Liu Dong was also there, accompanied by a group of female classmates. Xiaotian greeted with a smile and said, "Sister is also here." Liu Dong turned around and saw Xiaotian, feeling happy and familiar, and said, "You're here too, kid. I can really meet you anywhere." Xiaotian said helplessly, "Sister, this is a bit discriminatory. It's only been a while since I last saw you, and you've started to dislike me." Sigh. It's hard to be a good person. Liu Dong smiled and said, "You have a poor mouth and are good at talking nonsense. I'll treat you to dinner later, okay?" Xiaotian just smiled happily and said, "Sister is better, then I'll just fall for it." Liu Dong looked at Xiaotian's poor appearance and just wanted to give him a chance. He glanced at him and asked the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com, "Virtue, I see you're just itching and uncomfortable all over." At this moment, those female classmates saw the friendly interaction between the two and came up to inquire. "I just realized that I'm a junior apprentice." They all come to greet Xiaotian with a clever smile and a smile. Zhaotian knew that only the talented women from the performance class came down this time. Famous actors such as Shen Danping, Lu Ju, Fang Shu, and others followed suit. Xiaotian greeted each other one by one, while his sister kept calling out. The women also love it immensely. Mainly because Xiaotian is the youngest, still looks good, handsome, and will definitely be the kind that people like in the future. Natural women have an incredibly good relationship. Let Xiaotian go to their place to play when he has time. This stunned and envied all the men. Xiaotian smiled as his heart suddenly moved. Thinking of Liu Dong, he suddenly realized that this was not the future wife of Yu, Ning Zhongzi. Thinking of this makes me excited, and I need to have in-depth communication and exchange in the future. For nothing else, just for the identity of Lady Yue. In the future, there will be a temptation to subdue her identity. That's really a high point. Moreover, this girl found a foreigner after graduation, and I will definitely not give him a discount. Foreigners got this wrong, but they also think it's better not to change it. Don't mind, everyone. Even if it's rotten, it should be rotten in one's own pot. In the future, if we don't educate her well, we will see if she dares to find foreigners. The purpose of Xiaotian is to educate without moving the stick, and to prevent students from growing. At this moment, Xiaotian looked at Liu Dong with some playfulness and joy. Liu Dong looked at it and felt a strange feeling in his heart, always feeling that this kid had ill intentions. He gave Xiaotian a fierce glare. Then everyone went away with their own books. 6 Campus Emotions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiaotian began his career in cognitive learning. Today, the first film watching class of the director department begins. All students gathered in a cinema auditorium. Lesson name. Inspiration from film art. The main purpose of this film viewing is to help students gain a deeper understanding of film art. Improve personal film aesthetics and creative abilities. The selected works are all representative works. Its main purpose is to enable students to perceive the charm of movies, learn creative techniques and expressive techniques. Because for many people, this is an unfamiliar field of art. Mainly to allow students to glimpse the depth and vastness of movies. Learn how to convey emotions, shape characters, and showcase social phenomena through images, sound effects, and storytelling. Afterwards, we will delve deeper into the discussion. Teacher Wang said, I don't know what your thoughts and experiences are after reading it. As the class monitor, Xiaotian stood up first and said, through this viewing, I have deeply understood the true essence of film art. It is not only an artistic expression, but also an objective expression of social phenomena, present, past, and future. Used to stimulate people's emotions and cognition, and generate resonance. So this time, it also allowed me to explore the direction of development and the pursuit of exploration. After speaking, the whole audience applauded. Very good, I have recognized the essence of movies and found a direction for the future. Since that's the case, I will not be arrogant or impatient in the future and take it seriously. Teacher Wang said earnestly. Zhuang stood up and said, through this viewing, I have gained a clearer and deeper understanding of the use of cinematography, visual structure, and sound design in movies. This made me realize the charm of it, giving me a sudden sense of openness. Of course, it also provides me with a clearer direction for my future artistic pursuits. Another round of applause erupted from the crowd. Teacher Wang said again, great, as long as you understand the expression of the movie and also understand your own pursuits. It can be seen that you are very dedicated and need to work harder to enrich yourself. If you improve your shortcomings, you will become an excellent director. The rest of the group came up one by one to express their thoughts and experiences, and applause sometimes rang out, filling every corner. It also indicates that the viewing effect this time is very successful and valuable. Afterwards, the students went back in groups of 3 or 2, either whispering and discussing, or quickly going back to record their insights. Everyone has their own way of handling things. On the way back, Chen Kaizi said, your answer really suits my taste. What I want is to express some essential phenomena in an artistic form to warn the world. Xiaotian smiled and said, isn't this the true value that movies should have? It seems that you have a deep understanding of it. In the future, great directors will definitely have a place for you. Chen Kaizi smiled and said, you little brat, you're used to flattering people. You come at your convenience. It seems like you'll have to be at your mercy in the future. Zhuang smiled and said, he has become accustomed to this. I haven't seen those performance classes, and we often come and go. Talking and laughing with him is really infuriating and enviable. The crowd burst into laughter. Xia Gengzi smiled and said, what I can't understand is, you're a minor. Why do they like you so much? Do girls like little brothers? Xiaotian smiled and said, you can pull it, at least I'm also a man. How could I become your little brother in your mouth? I'm fully functional, one of the top 3. Everyone laughed heartily, and when men were together, the topic always revolved around women. Similarly, women are no exception. This is all innate, opposite sex attracts each other, as the saying goes. After the stage class in the performance department, a few girls were laughing and chatting while walking. Dong, have you washed that clothes to dry? It's time to send them to someone, said Lu Sun, a girl from northeast China, with a wry smile. It turns out that since Xiaotian went to their dormitory a few times, we have been seeing each other happily. After Xiaotian shamelessly brought his changed clothes, the girls would occasionally tease Liu Dong. Liu Dong always blushes and feels uncomfortable. Whenever this happens, I will hold a grudge against Xiaotian and always think of one day seeking an explanation, because it was all caused by that scoundrel. Fang Shu joked and said, yeah, it's time to send it over too. It's been 2 days since we last saw each other. We all have strange thoughts. Shen Danping continued to joke and said, it's been 2 days now, maybe someone is waiting right ahead. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard Lu Jing let out a sigh and pointed forward. The girls heard the sound and followed the direction they pointed. Isn't this the Chow Chow? As soon as you speak. Even if it rains in time, it's just that. At the same time, Li Luo and his companions also saw the scenery here. Xiaotian separated from the crowd and came to greet them. Just because they didn't want to see Xiaotian and Mei Tongla there, they were just like fools, accompanying each other, but the key was that no one paid attention. If you have suffered losses in the past, you will never repeat them. Xiaotian walked closer and looked at a group of playful and cheerful beauties, looking at himself with deep meaning. Xiaotian greeted with a smile and said, "Hello sisters, we are destined again." Lu Shi smiled and said, "No wonder Dong Dong always says you're talkative, accustomed to getting close and being obedient." Xiaotian smiled and said, "I have all expressed my feelings. How could my sister have said she is so capable?" Fang Shu smiled and said, "Speaking of which, I can put gold on my face. I really have you." Shen Danping smiled and said, "Don't be fooled by the small size of the people, they are the most skilled at coaxing people." Everyone was laughing incessantly. Xiaotian smiled and said, "Sisters praise me so much. I feel a bit embarrassed to go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, but I like it. Who made this happen?" The women laughed, and Xiaotian asked again, "Dong Dong, why is he looking unhappy? Has he been punished or disciplined?" The women looked at each other with a smile, and Liu Dong gave Xiaotian a white glance and said, "You can't just hope for something good. Am I that bad? I can just talk nonsense." Xiaotian smiled and said, "Is this about caring for my sister? It seems that I don't care enough. I need to practice more." Liu Dongchen said repeatedly, "I'll be speechless. One day, I'll have to block your mouth." Lu Zhuo smiled and said, "Let's go back first. If we don't watch you two flirting here, it will make your teeth itch." Then he was teased by the women before leaving. Liu Dong glared at Xiaotian and walked forward on his own, while Xiaotian also followed along. The two of them took a walk, looking in the direction of heading towards the fruit forest. Xiaotian did not interrupt the silence between the two. "Okay, there's a while." Liu Dong seemed to be still sulking and grumbled, "It's all your fault, you're the one who made me laugh at." "It's true, you're just a child. What's so ridiculous about you?" Xiaotian smiled helplessly and said, "Still a child, am I very young?" Liu Dong glared at him angrily and said, "Who are you? You're just a little kid." Xiaotian smiled and deliberately said, "It's not small, I only know when I see it." Liu Dong was completely unaware that you looked like an idiot. He gave him a glance and said, "Aren't you right in front of me? You're still playing tricks on me." Xiaotian smiled at the naive and refreshing girl, but didn't explain too much. The Fate and Suffering of 7 Liu Dong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiaotian and Liu Dong took a walk by the edge of a small fruit forest. The two of them wandered aimlessly, arguing and laughing at each other, feeling very comfortable. Under a small fruit tree, stop and sit back. There are no people here, and most students nowadays don't come here because it's too remote and there isn't much to see. Liu Dong bent his legs against the fruit tree and sat under it. Xiaotian sat naturally and shamelessly next to her, and naturally grabbed his tender hand, gently stroking it from time to time. Liu Dong pulled back, but couldn't pull it back. His face turned red, and although his eyebrows and eyes seemed embarrassed, there was actually a hint of laughter in his eyes. My heart was pounding wildly. I didn't expect Xiaotian to be so bold and straightforward, and even say, "Catch it." Is this because I like myself? My mind was in a state of confusion and wandering thoughts. He glanced at Xiaotian and said, "Rogue. I will no longer speak." Xiaotian teased with a smile and said, it all depends on the person, otherwise I wouldn't have the heart to learn from the ancients before the flowers and under the moon. Let's talk about our hearts here. Liu Dong listened to Xiaotian's frank expression of love, and his heart was in turmoil, unsure of what to do. Just because this was something she had never encountered before, or a shameful situation, she suddenly felt a bit at a loss. This is also a common trait among most girls nowadays, they are reserved and shy, afraid to go beyond even one step. This is also when she met Xiaotian, otherwise she wouldn't know when she would have had such an experience. The two of them sat for a while longer, both speechless, deeply experiencing the heartfelt emotions of deep affection. Suddenly, Xiaotian pulled Liu Dong and with a soft, "Ah," Liu Dong fell on Xiaotian's lap. Liu Dong raised his hand and pinched Xiaotian's arm, then angrily said, "What are you doing? You scared me." Xiaotian looked at Liu Dong, who was unconscious, and teased him with a smile. Of course, it's about doing something about romantic relationships between men and women. Upon hearing this, Liu Dong immediately became nervous, her heart pounding wildly, her beautiful jade face blushing with embarrassment. She didn't know what Xiaotian would do, but instead felt very flustered inside. At this moment, Liu Dong also lost his usual straightforward and atmospheric sister aura, and instantly turned into a little lamb. Looking at Xiaotian timidly, he said, "Xiaotian, don't be like this, okay? I'm a bit scared." The tender hand had tightly grasped Xiaotian's hand in order to ease the tension. Xiaotian smiled and comforted, "There's nothing to be afraid of, be good, just listen." Liu Dong's expression softened slightly, but he remained nervous. With a soft tone and a victim-like appearance, he timidly begged, "Then you must not bully me, okay?" Xiaotian smiled as he looked at the innocent and pure-looking delicate girl, his mind racing. How could he let go of the lamb that was just about to be bullied? It was inevitable. Xiaotian reached out and gently stroked his delicate and beautiful face, slowly and deliberately stimulating him, saying, "I'm not bullying you. Who should I bully? Why don't I go talk to other girls about love? How about that?" Liu Dong listened to Yu Yen blush, then raised his tender hand and lightly pinched Xiaotian's arm, coquettishly saying, "You bad little devil, I won't let you go. You've been bullying me like this, don't leave me, don't let me go." There was nothing to emphasize at all, fearing that Xiaonai might not want him and run to find someone else. Xiaotian looked at Liu Dong from Wei Chu Baba and comforted him with a smile, "Fool, how could I not want you? To be honest, you took it seriously." Liu Dong listened and said coquettishly, "I can." Before he could finish speaking, Xiaotian had already lowered his head, kissed his tender lips, and gently kissed and teased him. Liu Dong was already stunned for a moment, momentarily confused, his mind in chaos, his heart racing wildly, and his beautiful face flushed and hot like the morning sun. I felt the constant touch between my lips, my whole body felt like an electric shock, and my delicate body was soft and trembling. "Why did you just kiss me? Just kiss me without saying a word, so I can be prepared." My heart trembled, filled with deep sorrow. Although her heart was ashamed and distressed, her tender hands had already climbed onto Xiaotian's shoulders, tightly crossing her arms, taking whatever she wanted, passively adapting and catering to the kiss. Xiaotian has already pried open his teeth, kissing and grabbing the sweet aroma of Tianjin. At this moment, Liu Dong had forgotten his shyness, his body and mind were in a slump, and he was immersed in the passionate kiss, unable to control himself. Feeling Xiaotian's teasing, the passive snake entwined and kissed each other, exchanging their emotions and sustenance. This kiss, for the two immersed in it, lasts forever, with no light, only the release of their love for each other. I don't know how long it took, maybe half a quarter of an hour, before the two of them gradually stopped in the face of a bad breath, and the threads of their emotions slowly broke. Xiaotian's desires were not fully satisfied, but he also knew how to kiss at most and jokingly said, "How do you feel? Do you like it?" Liu Dong gradually stabilized his body and mind, his nervousness had long disappeared, and the rest was nothing but shyness with sweetness. The lips felt slightly uncomfortable, knowing that they had been kissing for too long. There was a hint of resentment towards Xiaotian for kissing too harshly. After a moment of calmness, Liu Dong said with a hint of resentment and anger, "You bad guy, you bully me and I don't know how to be gentle. As long as you're happy, I don't like it." Speaking in vain, Xiaotian glanced at her, feeling that she had lost her shyness and returned to normal. She was straightforward and her older sister had returned. Xiaotian jokingly said, "Whether you're happy or not depends on whether you like it or not on your face. You're still stubborn and refuse to admit it." Liu Dong was seen through inside in embarrassment. "If you had to manage it, I wouldn't admit it." "What's wrong?" Xiaotian smiled and joked, "What else can I do? It's just about doing it again. I really like this feeling." Liu Dong blushed and coquettishly threatened, "You naughty little boy, you know how to bully people. If you continue like this, I will ignore you." Xiaotian smiled and joked, "If you think you're threatening to act coquettish, that's enough. I won't be polite, not to mention my feelings or likes." Upon hearing this, Liu Dong's aura suddenly dissipated and he shyly said weakly, "I said it's not enough, it's just going to be chaotic like this." The sound was like a mosquito or fly, and he whispered softly, "They are happy and sweet in their hearts, and they really like it." After speaking, she shyly lay in Xiaotian's arms, arched her head, and held her tightly. Xiaotian smiled and looked at the instantly shy person, feeling happy in his heart, sitting quietly with his delicate body in his arms. "But in my heart, I wanted to find an opportunity to take away this soft and delicate body. Thinking again, it's not possible. We need to prioritize His Majesty the King and not ruin the order and reputation. That is my own white moonlight, my beloved and dear, I cannot act recklessly without a bottom line." Xiaotian is passionate about his own bad thinking and scumbag ideas. "It's really shameless to step on the horse, you scumbag. Holding someone, thinking about them, and not putting them first, how despicable and shameless this person must be. Seeing the city wall makes one feel inferior." But Liu Dong's heart was sweet and in constant love, both physically and mentally feeling that this was a lifelong commitment for his future man. The two had different moods, and it can only be said that Liu Dong met Xiaotian. So far, it has been her fate and hardships. 8 women discuss emotions, but things go against their wishes. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xiaotian and Liu Dong only returned together at dusk. Xiaotian escorted Liu Dong to the entrance of the dormitory before waving away. Liu Dong stared blankly for a while before seeing the person disappear, and then reluctantly turned back to the dormitory. As soon as she entered the dormitory, the girls gathered around her, asking questions haphazardly. It was only because Liu Dong had been away for so long and they were all girls who had never experienced emotions, that they were very curious. When Liu Dong finally blushed and broke through the encirclement and sat on the bed, the women still refused to let go and gathered around. Currently, free love is not prohibited, but rather encouraged. After all, what is liberated is also the ideological confinement of women and the moral constraints of Confucianism. Therefore, the most popular trend nowadays is free love, but the accumulated ideological tradition cannot be changed overnight. It is mostly a subtle and shy exploration. So at this time, the daughter is the cleanest and purest, and staying consistent is their only idea. "It's been so long, how have you been? What's the feeling? Tell us about it, let's also be mentally prepared," Lu Sun asked. The others looked at Liu Dong curiously. Liu Dong was originally shy and didn't want to say anything, after all, this matter was too embarrassing. But sisters have said so, and it's hard for them to refuse. After all, they should know how to share and help others now. Moreover, now that only oneself has had a perceptual experience, it is natural to impart one's own feelings, so that everyone can also be mentally prepared in the future. Seeing Liu Dong dumbfounded, Shen Danping urgently said, Dong Dong, don't hide it. Hurry up and say it, it's really urgent. Yes, hurry up, it's too urgent. Fang Shu urged again. This 1-by-1 is even more urgent than the parties involved. Liu Dong was already very shy. Hearing what sisters said was funny, he could not help laughing. Liu Dong stabilized his mind and said slowly, there's nothing to say about this. Let's just walk together and chat casually. There's nothing we've done. We didn't ask what you did. Hurry up and tell us exactly what you did, Liu Zhuo said urgently. Catching his speech, Shen Danping smiled and said, hurry up, we're all in a hurry. The women burst into laughter to cater. Liu Dong knew he had made a mistake, so he had no choice but to blush and slowly say, I didn't do anything, I just kissed. With a strange and unbelievable sound, all the women even kissed. Where did you kiss? What do you feel like? Liu Zhuo asked with some shy curiosity. The women were all staring brightly. Liu Dong said helplessly, I just kissed my mouth, it felt very comfortable, and I really like it in my heart. The women were all stunned for a moment, they were so shocked that they thought it was a kiss on the face. It's still very comfortable, what kind of feeling is that? Shen Danping asked curiously again, how many times have you kissed, and how long have you kissed? Liu Dong said shyly, just once, I don't know how long it has been. It feels like it's been a long time and I can't even catch my breath before stopping. Fang Shu exclaimed curiously, I can't even catch my breath. It's going to take a long time, isn't it? It won't work for a few minutes, right? Liu Dong also pondered and said, there should be some. If it weren't for me not being able to catch my breath, he would have continued. Liu Zhuo smiled and said, this bad guy is not big, he's not afraid. He dares to kiss. You say he's so young, who did he learn from? Liu Dong was taken aback for a moment and said, I didn't know that. Anyway, I feel like he knows very well. He's so young, it's impossible for anyone to teach him these things. Shen Danping smiled and said, anyway, he is very good at it. Some people are born with these skills, and it's uncertain. Or it can be said that men are self-taught. The women nodded curiously and pondered. Lu Jing asked again, so what are your plans? Are you getting married after graduation? Liu Dong let out an ah, and was taken aback. The women were also stunned, yes, this is not a small matter. Everyone looked at Liu Dong curiously again. Liu Dong said in a daze, why is it all about getting married? Isn't it still early? Shen Danping said without hesitation, oh, you're stuck in a honey jar. If you don't plan now, when will you be several years older than him? Don't worry, when he gets older, you'll have to endure it. Fang Shu said with concern, yes, if you were in his 20s, how old would you be? You are young now, and he likes you. If he were older, would he still be? Moreover, at that time, there were many young girls. If he couldn't resist the temptation, what would you do? The key now is to catch him. No matter how he comes, you can say that he won't lose out, Liu Dong said in a daze, but I didn't think so far either. He's still young, and I can't force him. At least we'll have to wait for a few years to see before we talk. I don't believe he won't want me. The women looked at the foolish woman who was trapped in love and lost their normal thinking. They were thinking about each other and felt that their relationship was unbreakable. Liu Zhuo said without hesitation, you, how can I say you? Let me put it this way. That kid is handsome, and he will not look bad in the future. He is also a director, so he is talented. She can speak eloquently, be likable, be a good person, do things, and even speak sweet words. How can she not be likable to a girl like this? Now it's just that he doesn't know many girls around him. When he gets older and becomes a director again, do you think he will know fewer girls? If he's not married, it's not just about whether he'll stick to his true intentions. It's just that other girls who see such an excellent person are not attracted to it. If it doesn't work out well, there will be those who cling to him, and then you'll cry. Liu Dong is confused. She really didn't think so much. Instantly, my thoughts flew wildly. Looking for Xiaoyuan www.zhaoxuyuan.com, she thought that if one day, she really didn't know what to do and might cry to death. Shen Danping added a touch of anger and said, think about it, this kid. When a girl meets someone, she doesn't have any aversion. If you didn't know each other first and have feelings, we would be sisters again, so we didn't disturb you. Otherwise, I would have wanted to talk about feelings with him long ago. If you don't believe me, ask them which one doesn't have this idea and which one doesn't envy you. You see why Lu Jiao encourages you to meet each other every time. It's not in his mind, but only because he takes sisters' feelings into consideration. Lu's cheeks turned red instantly and he blushed, saying, there's no such thing as that. Don't listen to her talk nonsense. All the women were laughing. When Liu Dong saw Lu Jiao's blushing face, he knew it was true. Only then did he know that all sisters were giving way to him and that he was not winning, so he was so frank and let himself realize the sense of crisis. There is another saying, if you are not capable, give up quickly, not to delay yourself or others. At this moment, Liu Dong realized that there was a great crisis and his mind was heavy. He could only silently say, let me think. When I see him again, ask him for his thoughts. Only then can the women express their concern. Liu Dong's thoughts were wild and he just wanted to go see Xiaotian now, but he also felt that he had to hold back, not be too proactive, and not let Xiaotian feel too clingy or annoyed. With this thought, my mind can no longer calm down, feeling anxious and depressed. When she saw Xiaotian again, a straightforward girl suddenly turned into a timid little woman. Accommodating, even if bullied, he dare not refuse, afraid that he will not want him anymore. If the sisters in the dormitory know that things have turned out like this, they don't know how they feel. Helping didn't help, but instead, it was very helpful. Liu Dong was once again forced to question, and the Shaolin Temple script came out in a flurry, with the characters 4201. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It has been modified in the background, but there is no way. In order to read smoothly, I made some slight changes. Apologies to you. When a woman encounters an emotional crisis and is both excellent and likable to a man, the woman will lose her sharpness, let go of her reserved demeanor, speak softly, lose her self-esteem, lose herself, and let her take whatever she wants, in order to use her infinite efforts to win the man's favor and love. That's why some women are constantly tormented by men and unwilling to leave, simply loving themselves, without self-esteem. Based on Liu Dong's current situation and self-perception, there is this trend. If Xiaotian had a ruthless heart, it would destroy this innocent and straightforward girl, leaving her with no hope for life, no pursuit of life, and the ultimate result would be to seek self-liberation. Unfortunately, Xiaotian has a broad heart and a lot of emotions. He doesn't want to torture a girl's feelings, he just wants to keep this feeling alive. What I think most is how to make my woman accept my broad emotions. Some are good to play with, but others must stay by your side, not just those who pursue their own power in the end. Only emotions before they rise are sincere, eternal, and can be preserved for a long time. Liu Dong, like this, often feels uneasy and sleeps poorly when he hasn't seen Xiaotian come to find him for a few days. He sometimes gets distracted during class. The women see it in their eyes, are anxious in their hearts, and have no choice but to intervene in matters of love. In the past few days, Xiaotian has been busy trying to write his own script and dividing the shots, hoping to ask the teacher to help reference it to achieve the expected effect. Only by constantly exploring and creating can we make rapid progress. The second is to let go of emotions, like a spring. Only by constantly pulling and pulling can emotions heat up faster, and when poured out, they will come naturally. He didn't expect someone to come and help him, otherwise he would have gone to see him long ago. Today, Xiaotian was leaning against the bed, holding a drawing board, writing and drawing, creating his own creative shots. I've been thinking about it for a few days. After finishing it, I need to go see Liu Dong and let it cool down. At this moment, a girl called out to him at the entrance of the dormitory, and upon hearing it, she knew it was Liu Dong. She quickly got up and went out. Looking at the lackluster Qingjian girl who hadn't seen her for a few days, Xiaotian was taken aback and said to himself, "What's wrong with you? How did you end up like this?" Upon hearing this, Liu Dong's heart was filled with sourness, not just because of you. However, seeing him so nervous and caring about himself, my heart was instantly relieved and there was no more complaining. Timidly, he whispered, "I won't bring your clothes either. I'll bring them for you, give me your dirty clothes, and I'll take them back for you to wash." It turned out that Liu Dong and others were in a state of panic, so the women suggested that he bring the clothes over. In the past, it was always Xiaotian who picked them up and down by himself. Liu Dong could only endure his heartache and force himself to come over. By the time he saw someone, he had already lost most of his grievances. At this moment, there is a feeling of being even more subdued. Xiaotian smiled and said, "I said I'll go find you later. Let's take a break tomorrow and go shopping together." He picked up his clothes and threw them back into the dormitory, saying, "Let's go take a look." Liu Dong followed step by step with some joy. As Xiaotian walked, he asked, "What's wrong with you? You're so haggard." Liu Dong felt like crying after hearing this, his eyes moist, and a slightly choked tremolo said, "It's nothing, it's just that he didn't sleep well." Xiaotian felt something and asked, "You wouldn't end up like this just because I didn't go to see you, would you?" As soon as he finished speaking, Liu Dong silently lowered his head and shed tears. Xiaotian, seeing this, still doesn't know. He thought to himself, "Damn it. Look at hurting such a good girl." Xiaotian said with concern, "Fool, how could I not see you? I've been thinking about the script lately and I'm a bit obsessed. I even said I'll come find you when I finish drawing. It's mine, I should have gone to see you early." Liu Dong listened with a relieved heart. The grudges had long disappeared, and he timidly said, "You also need to learn. It's me who is too selfish. Just don't get angry." Xiaotian looked at Liu Dong, who had turned into a cowardly appearance, and was deeply surprised. Last time he went back, he was still fine, straightforward, but sometimes a little shy. What must have happened? Xiaotian knew that even if he asked her, he wouldn't say such private words unless she took the initiative to do so. Xiaotian picked up Liu Dong's tender hand and said, let's go to the old place." Liu Dong felt happy in his heart and was surprised again. He quickly said, "There will be people here." Although he said it this way, he didn't struggle to shrink his hand and still held it tightly. Xiaotian laughed but didn't expose it, saying, "If you see it, you see it. I'm holding on to my own woman's hand, and if it's in someone else's way, anyone who wants to have an opinion will go and get one myself." Liu Dong smiled sweetly and said, "A scoundrel will talk nonsense. I don't argue whether I am his woman or not." Xiaotian looked at the girl who was instantly happy and said with a smile, "This is a reflection. Because I like it, that's why it's like this. Do you like it?" Liu Dong blushed and said softly, "I like it. This time, I am not reserved or hesitant." After walking for a while, Liu Dong suddenly broke free and ran forward. Xiaotian smiled and said, "What are you running for?" Liu Dong ran back and said, "If you catch up with me, I'll tell you." Xiaotian looked at the mischievous girl and smiled, "Okay, let me catch up with you." After finishing speaking, run over and always maintain a distance. Until reaching the small fruit forest, he suddenly accelerated, caught up with Liu Dong, and pulled him into his arms. "See where you're still running, whether you're still running or not," he joked. Liu Dong was already gasping for breath. After a moment of relief, he smiled coquettishly and said, "Stop running. I'm tired from running." As she spoke, she tightly hugged Yi Xiaotian's waist without hesitation. Yi Xiaotian smiled and asked, "So why do you have to run?" Liu Dong said happily, "I'm happy, aren't you happy?" Yi Xiaotian said speechlessly, "Of course I'm happy because of this." Liu Dong coquettishly said, "What else can I do for? I'm just happy to like it, that's why." "Okay, since you're happy, let's kiss first," Yi Xiaotian joked and said. Liu Dong's face turned red as he looked at Yi Xiaotian and took the initiative to kiss him. Yi Xiaotian was taken aback and responded, kissing his soft lips. The two of them were passionately kissing and demanding each other. "Until the breath is not smooth." Liu Dong's face turned red and he took a slow breath before saying, "Xiaotian, will you always like me and not leave me?" Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "I will never leave you for a lifetime. With me around, you don't have to think so much. I will take care of you for a lifetime." Liu Dong felt extremely sweet in his heart and smiled, "If one day you fall in love with someone else, don't say you don't want me, okay?" Yi Xiaotian was stunned for a moment and smiled, "What kind of silly words? How could I not want you? Don't think so." Liu Dong said sourly in a soft voice, "I know that excellent men don't just stick to one woman, they often abandon their wives. I just want, on that day, don't say you don't want me anymore, I just want to spend my life with you." This is also what she has thought a lot in the past few days, because she feels that she doesn't have the ability to hold on to Yi Xiaotian's heart. Yi Xiaotian affectionately said, "Don't daydream, rest assured. Your future belongs to me, and I will love you for a lifetime." Liu Dong smiled sweetly and said, "When will we get married? I want to have a child for you." This is also her only demand, thinking that even if the outcome is not good, there will still be a support, a crystallization of love, and no loneliness. "We will get married, but wait a little longer. If you want to have a child, it's not easy. Let's buy a house and live here for now, so we can have a child for you," Yi Xiaotian explained. "Isn't it not good for us to live together before marriage?" Liu Dong said with a hint of melancholy in his heart. Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "What's wrong? You're my woman, and you're afraid of what others might say. For now, buy a temporary residence, and then buy a larger one in the future, such as the seaside garden or a detached villa. I will buy it for you as long as you have it. My purpose of earning money is to spend it for you." Liu Dong's heart was extremely sweet when he heard it, only feeling extremely happy. Such material temptations, when spoken out by an excellent man, will instantly fill a woman's heart. After all, this is a manifestation of loving oneself. Liu Dong whispered, "I'll listen to you." Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "Let's call out to my husband first." Liu Dong shyly said, "Do you want to shout now?" Yi Xiaotian affirmed, "It's necessary. From now on, you'll be my woman." Liu Dong listened with sweetness in his heart and said shyly, "Husband." After speaking, he buried his head in Yi Xiaotian's arms, feeling extremely embarrassed. Yi Xiaotian joked with a smile and said, "It's embarrassing to call someone a husband. So, what should we do if we still have to practice married etiquette in the future?" With a coquettish moan, she rubbed against the person in her arms. Yi Xiaotian smiled and tightened his embrace tightly. Liu Dong was extremely shy, but his body tightly hugged Yi Xiaotian and he didn't say anything. Yi Xiaotian knew that Liu Dong was using clumsy methods to lure himself. With a smile, he said, "You silly woman, this will only backfire." Liu Dong raised his head in confusion and said, "What would backfire?" Yi Xiaotian smiled helplessly and said, "Your behavior will only make me more angry." Liu Dong blushed and said, "I don't have it." Yi Xiaotian laughed and held on to her lips, then gave another passionate kiss. "It's been a long time." Yi Xiaotian said, "We went there, we're still in the same place." Then he led Liu Dong into the small fruit forest with a hum. "It's quiet again without anyone." Yi Xiaotian sat down against the fruit tree, sitting on his lap, pulling shy Liu Dong. Yi Xiaotian kissed again, and after a while, he reached around his neck to kiss. Liu Dong was extremely shy and a bit soft. "My husband," he said with a slight nod on his nose. Yi Xiaotian kissed and said, "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Liu Dong hummed and said, "I feel a bit uncomfortable." Yi Xiaotian smiled and, knowing why, reached out to undo the 2 buttons on his shirt. Liu Dong quickly grabbed and said, "Husband, we're not suitable here. What if someone comes?" Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "I'm not doing anything. You're panicking." Liu Dong's nostrils coquettishly said, "Husband." Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "Why don't you listen?" Liu Dong blushed and said, "Husband, I don't have one." Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "Let's see what's going on. Anyway, I have to show it sooner or later." Liu Dong coquettishly said, "Husband, you're so bad." "I am good or bad?" Yi Xiaotian joked and said. I waited for a while. Liu Dong gave a slight nod to his nose and said, "Husband, should we go back now?" Yi Xiaotian said, "Got it, wait a little longer." Not long after, Liu Dong's face turned hot and red, and he trembled as he said, "Husband, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable." "I understand," Yi Xiaotian hummed as he spoke. He looked up and said, "How do you feel?" Liu Dong shyly said, "Husband, stop talking, let's go back." Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "You're so tempting, I feel uncomfortable watching you." Liu Dong said coquettishly, "Husband, you can say strange things." Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, let's go back." The 2 of them just sorted it out and got up to go back. On the way back, Yi Xiaotian asked, "Where are we going to play tomorrow?" "You can go to Kunming Lake or the Summer Palace," Liu Dong replied softly. "Then let's go boating at Kunming Lake," said Yi Xiaotian. Liu Dong asked again, "Husband, what script are you writing?" Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "Shaolin Temple, Kung Fu movies." Liu Dong didn't ask again, knowing that filming nowadays is quite rigorous and won't abuse actors. Yi Xiaotian didn't say anything else, because the original version is the best. Even if there are flaws, it's harmless. The female lead still wants to use Dinglan and wants to communicate with her. Arriving at the entrance of the dormitory, he waved away. Liu Dong became a watchman's stone again, staring blankly until he was nowhere to be seen. Returning to the dormitory, the girls were already waiting. Zhaozuiyuan.com. They all gathered again and inquired about the progress. Liu Dong blushed instantly. This time he was too embarrassed. "What's the matter, what's the situation?" Lu Sun asked urgently. The women's eyes were eager. Liu Dong didn't know how to answer, so he could only vaguely say, "Fortunately, he said he will keep me for a lifetime." Shen Danping said again, "Didn't you say when we'll get married?" Liu Dong whispered, "Wait a little longer, we will get married, don't worry." Fang Shu said again, "Don't be this kid's sweet talk. Let's fool you. You said you were taken advantage of by him again." "No, he's not that kind of person. He always says he wants to buy a house for me, let me live first, and buy it later. He says he's just making money and spending it on me. How could he deceive me? I believe him. He has been writing scripts these days and is a bit addicted, so he didn't come. When I went, he was still writing and drawing." Liu Dong, full of love, defended Yi Xiaotian and said. He said awkwardly, "I didn't do anything, I just kissed him." Lu Zuo looked at the woman who was obsessed with love and didn't know what to say. After all, Yi Xiaotian seems to be a capable person, and from the perspective of contact, he is not just someone who can talk nonsense. He then delved deeper and asked, "Just a kiss?" Liu Dong nodded and blushed, saying, "Yes, what else can we do?" Shen Danping exclaimed curiously, "Just a kiss? You're like this. Tell me, where exactly did you go?" Liu Dong's face turned red and he weakly said, "It didn't matter much, just kissed that." Speaking with a finger, the women suddenly realized and blushed a bit. The women are also embarrassed to ask again, which is something they cannot understand. The script for Shaolin Temple has been completed, over 6,000 words have been distributed now. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xiaotian went back to write, draw, and create with separate shots. I have already had 2 teachers read the script several times. After the teacher's comments and suggestions, Xiaotian also made reasonable modifications based on his own memory and the teacher's opinions, in order to achieve the best. The addition of split shots this time is to make the script look more detailed and intuitive, allowing people to have a quick sense of immersion. In a few days, it will be taken for the 2 teachers to correct. If nothing unexpected happens, Xiaotian hopes to start preparing the crew and actors next year, and start filming the year after. Xiaotian knew that he happened to be one of the pioneers, and if he didn't hurry, he would be snatched away. Others do not know Xiaotian's thoughts, only that he is writing a script. He has not shown the specific details, thinking it is just a practice work. The 2 teachers were somewhat surprised. Their students had such great inspiration and creativity, and in less than 2 months since the start of school, they had created such a promising script. This is a good script that can be transformed into a screen. Other students are all exploring knowledge, and some are only superficial and general. It can only be said that Xiaotian is a genius. Just to the slight regret of the 2 teachers, it's not a literary genre, but an action martial arts genre. Zhuang came over and asked, Xiaotian, how is the script? Alright, let's also take a look. Xiaotian smiled and said, it's still being improved. Once it's confirmed, we'll show it to everyone. Chen Kaizi came over and asked, Xiaotian, do you want to make this script into a movie? Everyone knows that the scripts they start writing are mostly a mess, and there are hardly any that can be made into movies. So many directors buy other people's creations and then evolve them into scripts. After all, for those writers who make movies, they lack literary cultivation, let alone creating valuable scripts. Xiaotian deliberately said, Kaizi, your idea is very good. It reminds me that since I am creating, I will go and try the water first. Chen Kaizi paused for a moment and said, Zhuang smiled and said, then we will all go and visit, and also learn and supplement. Xiaotian smiled and said, I can't help it. Maybe everyone can still help. Xiaotian suddenly had a thought. If he could bring all the students from this episode over and act in groups, it would be a lot of fun. The value of this film will be even greater in the future. Most of them will become celebrities in the film and television industry in the future. Chen Kaizi looked at Xiaotian thinking of laughing alone and asked, Xiaotian, why are you laughing? You came up with a good idea. Xiaotian smiled and said, I'm thinking, if we're really sure about filming, can we pull all the students for this episode to do group performances? Anyway, anyone can go, we can't give outsiders a discount. Chen Kaizi smiled and said, that's great. We're all classmates, helping each other and saving some money. Zhuang also responded, that's a good idea. Let's all go with you and tell the teacher. The remaining few people also responded, okay, just learning is not as fast as actually participating. Xiaotian smiled and said, let's first say this. Once we have a rough idea, we can bring this up to the teacher. At this point, a movie full of future superstars is about to be born. It is also the only movie that can accommodate so many excellent directors and actors. It will definitely cause a sensation in the future. Ideas are beautiful, often far from reality. After a long period of sorting, Xiaotian took the script he felt satisfied with and gave it to the 2 teachers for correction. In the teacher's office, Teacher Wang looked at it for a long time and then exchanged views with Teacher Situ on the storyboard. After a while, I finally let go of my desire. The 2 teachers know that their student dares to take risks and is not willing to be lonely. I also know why he took so long to revise and perfect, even drawing the storyboard. Teacher Situ asked, "What are your plans?" Yi Xiaotian firmly said, "The two teachers must know my heart. I want to film it and release it." Teacher Wang nodded and said, "You know, making a movie doesn't just require a script. You need a crew and actors. What is your plan?" Of course, Yi Xiaotian knew that if there was no planning, it would be better not to create. He would definitely say, "I need the help of two teachers to contact me. I need a director with a new style of martial arts film ideas to work with me. Of course, as a newcomer, I can assist. If I really can't find someone satisfactory, I'll do it myself." After pausing for a moment, he said again, "Since the script is in the martial arts genre, I want actors who know martial arts and can be found nationwide. At present, we plan to prepare the production team and actors next year, and start filming the year after tomorrow. The filming cycle is to be completed within 2 years. I hope the local authorities can assist me when the time comes. That is to say, at the beginning of 1982, I want the film to be released. If the response is good, it will be screened nationwide and we will contact Xinjiang for screening. My expectation is that it will be released in both East Asia and Southeast Asia." The two teachers listened to Yi Xiaotian's boasting and surprisingly gave a rough idea of their future plans. I know that Yi Xiaotian was not on a whim. Zhaozuiyuan.com Teacher Wang said, "Director, we can help you find and contact the production team of China Film. When it's time, we can help you talk about it. As for the actors, according to your standards, we need to contact the Central Propaganda Department and ask for their help." "How much do you plan on funding?" Yi Xiaotian firmly said, 2 million yuan is my minimum estimate. Teacher Wang was taken aback and said, "There's too much. Even if the factory supports it, they wouldn't give so much. With your expenses, you can make nearly 10 films for small ones, and 4 or 5 films for larger ones. The factory won't agree." Yi Xiaotian is also aware of the current situation, with economic difficulties and low prices and wages. 2 million yuan is a huge sum of money, and he did not want the factory to fully invest. He wants to invest and receive a share, so that he can have a say in overseas distribution. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Teacher, help me ask and see what the factory says. If it doesn't work, I'll figure out a solution." The two teachers were both relieved and helpless when they saw Yi Xiaotian's unwavering determination. Teacher Situ explained, "We will show the script to the higher-ups and get back to you as soon as possible. However, we also need to let you know that the factory invests around 500,000 yuan in movies, and there are still experienced directors and reliable scripts. You should be mentally prepared for the shortfall of 200,000 to 300,000 yuan." Yi Xiaotian smiled and said, "Don't worry, teachers. I will solve the funding problem. We also need to finalize the director as soon as possible to prepare for the remaining work." Teacher Wang smiled and said, "You. Don't worry, I will give you a message as soon as possible." Yi Xiaotian thanked the teacher and went back. Teacher Wang smiled and said, "The momentum and stubbornness on this kid's body are quite compatible with our temper. It's just that as we get older, it's up to them in the future." Teacher Situ smiled and said, "Yes, it will be their group's world in the future."